want you to know that I am broken and healing. But every piece of my heart belongs to you, and I am honored to be your mate.
Hi, and welcome to Twin Flames Between Worlds podcast. My name is Tabitha.
And I'm Liesl.
And hi, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. Welcome back. So if the audio sounds a little bit different, we're in person this time for such a special occasion. It honestly, it kind of just lined up. But
It did.
So if you hear a little bit difference in that, we're together for this special, my favorite. I feel like this is what made me love Sarah J Maas. Incomplete and undying, like sort of immortal kind of love. You know what I mean?
It is some of the scenes, God, unforgettable, obviously, iconic location, but definitely it is, I hadn't previously like cried much for when reading before, and then this scene got me going.
Oh yeah,
crazy.
Once it starts, it doesn't end, and then it just like a flipping emotions, right? So anyway, we're going through chapters 52 through end of 56 today. We'll do like a slight recap, like this time. So previously on A Court of Mist and Fury. So we were basically, it was a lot of action scenes. It was a lot of, so we just let off. Rhys got captured. They had like an intimacy in scene moment, remember?
Before he got captured.
So we got like a little taste of it, and now we're getting like the full blown aftermath and romance. But anyway, so.
Full blown.
Shut up. So he gets shot out of the sky by ash arrows, and then she saves him, and then the good old Suriel comes and says a bit of information that he did not previously know, that Rhys and her are mates, and they are equals in every way.
I should not have said that. You did not know. Interesting.
Fucking Hagrid meme. But yeah, so we just left off. She left him in the mud, which I love Feyre as a protagonist. Goddamn, I was so mad at her.
He does not deserve that.
Yeah, she didn't even let him talk, so it was like, or explain. It was literally, and remember, so again, she brings this up not too far into this. Like, that was my first thought too. It's like, you literally just said 2 days ago that first you would never walk away from him, 2, that you would like hear him out. Okay.
Like, whatever you need to say, I'll hear you. I will not walk away.
Fucking shaking. So yeah, so Moore leaves the camp with her, winnows her to the cabin. The fucking cabin.
The fucking cabin or the fucking.
I remember when we first started this, and when we got to this point, I think I offhandedly said, "Oh yeah, it's like, it's the fucking cabin." Like, I didn't mean in the double entendre sense, and then she said, "No, it's the fucking cabin," and I went,
"Fucking."
Honestly, yeah, like honestly, the double entendre there really works, but I didn't mean it that way. But you definitely took it back. So it's just been our inside joke. But
and now it's yours too.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll jump right into it of this, how do I say, like emo phase of hers, like this angsty
teenager who just thinks she got dumped.
Angsty bullshit of, I've been lied to. It's like, okay.
Oh my God, my boyfriend hates me.
It's like, you weren't even together yet. Okay. So then what we'll get into, so we'll go to, basically, yes, this whole entire episode is the cabin. The cabin, Rhys's confession, the elusive, famous chapter 55, which we will definitely be going into. No, 54 and 55. Like, I feel like when people say 55, obviously it's for...
You need 54 first.
Yeah, no, 54 makes it just immensely better. But, yeah. And so then we'll get to the end where they go back to Velaris. So, and they meet up with everybody else to get ready for the end. So...
Yeah.
So we'll just dive right into it. I'm so fucking excited. So freaking excited.
This is gonna get spicy.
So I do want to mention that at the top of this, it's like chapter 52, right? This is the last part name for this book, because there was 3, right? It was the House of Beast, it was the House of Wind, and now it's the House of Mist, which really eluded me because the others were so blatant. Like, oh, this makes sense about what it is. This one was a little bit more mysterious. I'm like, wait, I guess I didn't really think of the cabin as misty.
No, but I guess maybe like with all like the wind blowing the snow around.
Yeah, you said something like pre-recording about the
like emotions being like misty and like kind of confusing, and then maybe being misty-eyed a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, I feel like there's more to that we don't know in this section yet. But so right away she goes into the cabin. She gets into the like massive tub that they have, which of course is allowed for wings.
Of course, big enough for Illyrian wings.
Which at first, when like that was the first sentence, I was like, that's foreshadowing. They're gonna have some sort of tub sex scene, I feel.
100%.
Yeah. You have to.
100%.
So she, like, this whole time is time to think. And, you know, even though I'll get mad at her about this, honestly, she hasn't had a time to think to herself since when she was at spring.
Right.
She's literally been boom, boom, boom. Not in a bad way.
But it's been everything like one after the other.
Yeah, it's not like Reese has been making her do stuff. It's like she's been covering all that shit up to not, like, she's been working like a workaholic. Work so much and then, you know.
It's kind of like the whole idea of like productive procrastination, where you do literally everything else to avoid the one thing that you should be working on.
So obviously this is a magical house, so everything, this is a little bit different than what we've seen though. Like, this is a purely magical house where everything is done for her.
Yeah.
Which I feel like before we didn't really see.
Cooks for her, cleans for her.
Yeah, gets the bath going. It's just like, holy shit. Can we Airbnb this place? Like,
right?
I would love to go to
Although
the
you'd
cabin.
have to go with a partner.
Would I have to? Well, okay.
Okay, you wouldn't have to at least, but you should go at least once.
Yeah, like, I feel like it'd be for family and like kind of like a found family situation. And or it'd be, let's just go fuck up in the cabin for a week. A week. Sorry, way too long.
Did you find your mate?
A weekend. But yeah, so anyway, like, you know, she's gets her clothes, all that. So it's cool magic. We have to remember it's been 2 days since they've been captured, so she's all dirty, and not them being captured, him being captured.
Her stranded in the woods.
Also, yeah, she didn't eat at all. We kind of understand now why she acted on pure instinct, though. Obviously, I think that she has feelings for him, but I think that in particular was pure mating bond.
Yeah.
I don't think that had anything to do. That primordial instinct was definitely just the mating bond.
100%.
So I love how, like, what she eats is the soup on the counter. Yeah. I'm like, okay, soup foreshadow. Okay, I see you, Sarah. But that was like my second time reading it. And I was like, she has the soup before. And I think what made me mad about her whole rethinking everything, though, right? That she's taking everything and assuming a bad context. I get that's a trauma response.
But at the same time, it's like, well, okay, but like literally, even before you knew about the mating bond, you found yourself falling in love with him.
Yeah, because she brings up like, oh, did he save me from the wedding to just use me or something or whatever? And I'm like, bro, just shut up.
Is that how he's been acting towards you? Is that how you see him? Do you really think getting to know him like that he would do that?
Or yeah, he said it that because I was his mate, letting me bind myself to somebody else was unacceptable. He literally was radio silent for 3 months and didn't say anything. No, if that was the case, that would have happened. Like, he would have stolen her right afterward. That when he stumbled, he would have stolen her right then and there. If that was going to be the case.
Exactly.
But anyway, so but as soon as she says that, though, I feel like, I mean, I think this is Sarah coming in here with her clutch writing, but I think what's so funny is she does all that and then immediately goes, well, I mean, I guess he's right about why, like, she immediately goes back. She, like, retreats because she knows that's just bullshit. She's just saying it because, you know, it's just like...
Which is progress, considering before she probably would have believed her toxic thoughts.
Right, because, you know, yeah, he let her share a bed with some dude. And then especially who we found out helped kill his mom and sister.
Was his second most hated enemy.
Right. So she says, and I quote, if anything, there is a sigh of relief that Tamlin and her were doomed from the start.
Right. Just like, wait, so so that means that it was good that we didn't get married. It's like, oh, I just left Supreme Court to find my mate?
Yeah, and I think it's also specifically her saying that is now there's not really as much guilt.
Mm-hmm. She's not like traitor anymore.
Yeah, because it's actual feelings. But she still thinks that that's like somehow the mating bond and not just their own feelings. From what we've seen and how we've like heard the mating bond be talked about, at least so far in this series, it's been like there's no love attached to that mating bond.
So it's like, okay, you're feeling love right now. Mating bonds aren't necessarily love.
They're not mutually exclusive. Like the people that we have heard about weren't in love, but they were mated. So
they all seem really bad.
Yeah, so this is one of those instances where it's good and they're in love. Well, she doesn't know it yet. She knows it, but she's not owning up to it yet. But she immediately is like, oh, I wonder if he comes look for me. I love how her first thought when she thinks of that is like, of why he didn't say anything is because he didn't want her. Biggest face palm. If you could see my face right now, I'd just be like...
Honestly, this whole like first section of her like self-wallowing and thinking is just a huge face palm the entire time.
Which is so hypocritical of us because we would do the fucking same.
I mean, yes, but we're on the outside at the moment.
I feel like I've done this exact thing where I've just been like, does he like after all this?
Which adds in a fact that my mom mentioned in the last season of like, it is so realistic and relatable.
Yeah.
But it's also, because of that, it's so stupid because it's like, we would do that too, but also facepalm.
Sarah is throwing our trauma back in our face, hella, and just being like, yeah,
calling us out.
This is how stupid you sound when you say shit like that. So she does like wonder where she is, right? When she continues this monologue. And of course, like she's up in the Illyrian steppes. Like that's all the mountain area.
Maybe she won't know the exact mountain she's on, but that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, of course. So she wakes up the next morning and, isolated in the cabin, deep in the mountains. Okay. She's kind of upset that everybody knew, but I think that's also more of a reason than him not saying it. Is that everyone else noticed and that she was dumb enough not to notice.
And I think there's also a level where she feels slightly betrayed in a little bit. I mean, of course, because Reese didn't tell her, but also because she found herself feeling like, she was getting along well with the rest of the inner circle. And it's like, we're becoming friends, right? So why didn't they tell us?
Or like, more kind of blur aside and be like, hey, you know what's going on here, right?
Right.
But also, it's not their place.
Right. And as we learn later, Reese told them not to.
Yeah, so it's I understand why she'd be upset. I think that's more of she's upset at herself for it being so obvious that they noticed before her. But also, you gotta give Faber a little bit of the benefit of doubt here. Like, all of those people all the Fae and Prithian learned in whatever school or whatever societal class that they have, what the mating bond is, how it feels, when you know it.
Sorry, that just reminds me of, like, sex ed classes. Here where, like, some schools don't have sex ed classes.
Oh my god.
Whereas other ones, like... I don't know. That's kind of what it feels like when it comes to learning about the mating bond.
Yeah, she definitely didn't get a sex ed class. But I think, you gotta give her some leeway there. She doesn't know. Because, like, the thing is, when Reese describes it later, he says it smells, and he says that there's an instinct. She wouldn't know what to fucking look. She didn't even know her own powers yet, let alone try to compartmentalize what the hell that meant.
Yeah, and she probably isn't familiar with what the scent of mating bond is.
Right. I think she kind of got it when there makes sense when she was going to find him, but like she obviously wasn't thinking about it then.
Right.
It was, we're our scents together.
It's like, I smell me on him.
Yeah. So obviously, this is exactly what I brought up before we just got into this. Exactly. She says it here. She did the one thing he knew and was worried about doing, and he walked away. She walked away from him while he was like down in the mud.
Literally, when he was down on his knees, she walked away.
Like pleading for her to listen.
Reaching out, still like in pain, trying to reach to her and get to her. Wait, Feyre.
And that's why he didn't say anything, proving her point. Proving his point about not saying.
Because, like, imagine, literally, it's more than like just a crush or whatever. It's like the person you've been literally fated to be with is walking away from you. Like, that's worse than being dumped and then walking away from a broken heart.
They had this so intimate moment, you'd think that was leading somewhere, and then it's like, oh no, you lied to me about this one. And anything, I would think it's not necessarily a lie, but more of a omission of information. But again, think about it. Him telling her at any other point in time wouldn't have made any sense. Would have made it seem like how he says,
right?
In terms of it being like you could take it as something else, which like Reese is smart as fuck. But anyway,
poor babe.
We also have, by the way, we have tissue sitting here so that any point, more than likely it'll be Liesl, but like
I'm an emotional boy.
A boy? Well,
I'm an emotional person. Okay,
it's okay. It's okay.
Well, yes, I'm a boy. I'm a girl.
I've been around the block with this so many times though that like I've talked about this so much that it's not that it doesn't affect me.
You're just more weathered to it.
Yes, but it affects me every time I read it. So I obviously get moved by it.
I had tear stains on my phone.
But I think this is the first time she's actually regretting a decision she made. Like fully regretting it and being like, I probably shouldn't have done that.
She's definitely, with all of the decisions she's made in the past, she's like, well, I don't have time to regret it or like resources or whatever. Or it's like, well, I made this decision, I'm going to stick with it. Whereas now she's very much of like, no, I was wrong.
It's like, what the fuck, bro? Yes, you walked away. But honestly, good for her that she's owning up to a bad decision. I'd rather that than her just being like, well, it worked out, right? It's like, no, I fucked up.
Also, if you think about it, because she is technically emissary of the Night Court, she walked away from her injured High Lord.
Didn't give a fuck, was just like, yeah. I think she, honestly, if I think about it more, I feel like she just wanted to prove her point that any of the inner circle would have taken her if she said.
Yeah.
Regardless. I feel like that was her one opportunity.
To prove it to herself.
To prove it to herself that they'd do it. And then she would have been like, yeah, this is late for me. This is what I thought.
But why'd you have to hurt Reese to do it?
I know. But yeah, so continuing, after she long monologue, she gets bored, which obviously.
Duh.
And she looks throughout the house like she's a snooper.
Leads to her finding a lot of weapons.
Yeah, which 100% is more Cassian Nazriel, I think. I feel like Cassian more than anybody.
Yeah.
Just getting a vibe
Maybe
check.
A little bit of more.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe a little bit of as if he's like too drunk or something.
I love how she described, and this is, I think, something you brought up when we read it. I love how she keeps talking about how casual it is. When we think back, all the way back to the beginning in the Moonstone Palace, with it being so extraordinary, even that to a certain extent felt cozy and secluded. I feel like that's just Feyre's personality, liking that more
cozy
than a big mansion with a bunch of people running around in it. That's not her speed. If we were just talking personality-wise, I mean, I don't think it's most people's speed, but some people like that, though. Some people like the hustle bustle. We're just like, no.
Not this person.
So yeah, she's like snooping through. It's a bunch of fucking books, and
I do love snooping though.
Yeah, you do.
I'm very much a favorite in this moment.
And yeah, she's like, the place is full of memories. I love how she says that. It's like she's thinking about, this is definitely a you moment where she's thinking about like the different things and being like, oh, I wonder when they did this, or there's a bunch of memories that I want to know about with this family. Somebody who I'd never thought I'd have like a family like this. I just liked it. But what does she find when she looks into the one closet?
Fishing rod.
Well, behind the fishing rods. What's behind them?
Their sports equipment? I know. Art supplies, specifically Kate.
Which is so funny because it's not like the house magic that. It was already there. And I think that makes it more, I think this makes this moment more spectacular to me than if it was just, oh, I want to decide to paint and then ask the house for it. It's there. Oh, I'm going to use it.
Because fate.
It's like now she's finally opening up, finally seeing it, and it's all coinciding with relationships.
Yep.
So I love this. So she opens it up, takes the canvases out. Doesn't actually use the canvases, by the way.
Nope.
The house is the canvas.
Yep.
And no, she paints all day through the night. It's like all over her body, and then when she gets into bed, there's all paint all over the bed. But it's a magic house, so it works.
It'll clean itself up.
Right.
She's just like, oh, I don't know how I got paint there, which is like same though.
Maybe I'm too much of a princess, but I don't know if I could go to bed with paint on me. I mean, I guess like she doesn't care, but I don't know if no, but I wouldn't. Yeah, so she literally paints all over the cabin.
Epic. It reminds me of the cottage.
Very much so. Honestly, yeah. It's not a foreshadow, but it's a callback to that. Yeah. It's like she's having that moment all over again.
That was the first thing I noticed when it started describing where she painted. Because she's like, flowers around the card table reminded me of flowers down the dining room. Yeah. Except this time now she has proper colors.
Yeah, she's got an array
or she
of
can
colors.
make proper colors now.
Yeah, and she's using the table as like what do they call that? The easel? No, the easel.
Mixing.
Yeah, the palette.
Like
the palette or some sort.
Like at least she is still using like cups and stuff to mix it, but like that table is also.
It's gonna have to clean itself.
No, just leave it. It adds character.
I will say this isn't really like a big detail or anything, but I love the detail. It's saying how she remembered to eat.
Yes.
It was maybe this is a subtlety on Sarah's part, but I was like, okay, I feel like that was a bigger tell of growth to me than like most of the rest of this section. Yeah. For her specifically, I mean. Because it's like, oh yeah, I mean, I am doing this thing, but I'm doing something I love, but it's like, oh yeah, I want to eat. It's like, oh,
I need to eat so I can keep staying up all night to do this.
She started so low, so it makes that like even more satisfying in a way. Finally, so she gets a little bit of anxiety because she hears a knock at the door, but it's Morgan.
It's fine.
She's like, please don't be dead.
Sounds so funny. She's just freezing her ass out there and she's like, please don't be dead.
I love how she just doesn't walk in. There's a level of respect there to not just barge in.
Even though it's technically their place.
True. Yeah, so what's interesting to note though about what's different just besides the flowers, for all the decorations around the house is pieces of them, the inner circle. More Cassian, Azrael, Amren.
Which Reese sees immediately, but we'll get
it. Yeah. So I love that they're like added in there. And also something I noticed, I think when I was listening to this, when I was making my notes originally, when she painted like flames and ice and shit, she was painting her powers on the house as well.
Yeah, I think I only got that around the third read.
First read, you're not going to notice shit. Second is like, okay, there's some cute, and then it's like third read, oh, the paint.
Dang.
It took you 3 reads to see all that.
No, at first I thought she was painting the port for some reason. I was thinking, fire and ice as in winter, fall, that kind of thing. But clearly, I see it differently now.
Right. I just love how the mantle leading up to the bedroom, I forgot that detail. I knew it was a mantle, but it's like specifically the mantle leading to the bedroom. Because especially when you get to chapter 55, knowing that they're all looking down at them is wild.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They are painted before the set.
So originally, Feyre paints just Amren's very silver eyes. And Moore's like, oh. Like more out of...
Why?
More of like, oh god. But yeah, it's because she's watching over everybody. But then Moore's like, no, that's not gonna do. Paint my eyes next to hers. So the males of this family will know that like we're watching them or whatever.
I love the idea of the 3 of them having a tradition to get wasted out of their mind.
At the cabin? Yeah. So yes, that's the detail that she says about that they used to get drunk up there before for a week straight, she said, I think.
For a week straight, like they drink and hunt and drink and hunt, etc.
I kind of would love to see that.
Honestly, yeah.
To see them do it again, or just I don't know, to see what they were like before.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they are who they are now, but I feel like they were definitely more boy-like. I mean, they still are boy-like, but I feel like they were more so.
I mean, I think if we got it in this sense, like right now, it would and like just imagining Feyre like hanging out with Moore and Amren, and then suddenly like 3 drunkards walk in, leaning on each other.
Right.
Smiling to high heaven.
So obviously, before that, Moore says so Feyre asked who the paints were for, and they were for Amren, because she wanted to try painting, and then she gave up on it 2 days in. That would be me. I'd be like...
It would be.
Because if I'm not good at 2 days afterward, I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm not... More so like in an art, because I have so many other talents, and art is not one of them.
I have so many other talents.
Rather say that than I don't have any.
That's true.
I'm trying to manifest destiny more. I'm trying to actually talk good about myself.
That's good. It is true. As much as I tease, she does have a lot of other.
So she does ask about updates. We haven't heard anything from the queens yet, which they're taking their fucking time. Not that we have like anything to do or anything. And then also Reese is recovered, or at least he's healing, or he's healed.
Yeah.
Or yeah, he was still recovering. Sorry.
He's like kind of like physically healed, but at the same time like probably really fucking sore.
And she didn't tell him. She's like, he's pissed at me.
Loyalty.
But obviously she does kind of put her nose into it. She's like, but if you want my advice, like you should talk to him. We're all screaming. It's like we're all, you know how when people like scream at the TV? Like I feel like I'm screaming at my book going, yes, talk to him. Like Jesus fucking Christ.
And then a character actually agrees with you. It's like, see?
It's like, Moore agrees with me. Moore's semi-sane. Yeah, semi-sane. I don't think any of them are, but I feel like Amren's the only sane person, and that's fucking hilarious. The most monstrous of them is the sanest person. So yeah, we also learn a little tidbit that Moore went to go visit at the Court of Nightmares. That was like a detail that I remember them saying in that chapter, but Moore will come to look in on you or whatever. Yeah, so she gets back to this hewn city finally, and she breaks some more of her dad's bones.
She pays her father father a visit and accidentally break some more bones.
Dude, his whole like arm was shattered. What more is there to break?
Anything that started healing?
Yeah. And then she says the funny thing, it's like, my mom banned me from their quarters. Like, that woman could ban her from anywhere. She wants to get in that room, she'll get in the room.
True, but I guess it's the thought of, you could not come back in this room.
I love how even now Feyre's trying to look for something, right? Something to incriminate Rhys with. Not in like a, oh, got him kind of way.
Right.
It's anything to like change her mind before she actually makes this decision.
Right.
I see it. It's infuriating, but also, I mean, I guess smart.
It's kind of also a fear response in a way of just like, well, okay, I'm seeing like all these things and I'm confused. Don't make me make a decision. Give me something to hate.
Or to be like, oh, that's a little bit of a red flag.
Then she's going to be like latching onto like a bunch of little things that are not actually red flags.
But if you think, I just thought about this now. If you think about it though, she fell in love with Tamlin too quickly.
That's true.
And didn't look into anything.
That's true.
So now this is her asking way more questions than needs.
She needs to find a happy balance.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is like the other extreme, but I'm just saying that was literally what she was telling him.
Yeah.
Like the couple of nights before. So she asked like, oh, does Rhys make you endure that? Rhys doesn't make her do he doesn't make anybody do anything. So she says that Rhys, when he was made High Lord, gave her permission to kill them whenever. They have a death sentence over their head already. So whenever Moore decides that they are ready, that she's ready for them to die, they'll die.
Yes, good. Revenge.
Imagine living with the fear, knowing that he's gonna die, but he doesn't know when. I feel like that's way more of a torture than...
Shouldn't that mean that he's nicer to his daughter? He still fucks up.
I don't think he knows.
Oh.
I don't think he knows about that. I think he kind of suspected, but at this point it's been, how many years since Rhys has been a High Lord? And it hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
I do like this. I like how interesting political-wise that she isn't. Obviously, she would have want to kill them on the spot. I think the reason she's not doing it is because she cares a lot about the court. Because again, who would take Kyr's place?
Right.
I mean, because I don't think he has any other children besides her.
Make her mother do it.
She wouldn't. No,
she wouldn't. Not in their society.
Kyr has some sort of relationship, whether or not that's good with Rhysand, where they have a balance right now. It would be a headache to... I just like the fact that there's a political element involved.
Makes me wonder if Kyr was like actually... I mean, obviously, because he's
older.
Technically, in a way, like Rhys's uncle, in a way.
Oh, yeah, he is Rhys's uncle.
But, like, also makes me think of, like, then when Rhys's dad was around, did Kyr, like, live with them, in a way?
I don't think they ever did, because I feel like, well...
Because I'm thinking about, because when Rhys, like, came to power, he's like, yeah, my father's court, like, dispersed.
Oh, well, I wonder if his father lived up in the Moonstone Palace.
Oh, probably.
I feel like he lived there instead of Valaris. I don't
Probably, actually, he would. Yeah,
that means
there's a throne room downstairs.
They would have had a tighter relationship, I think.
That's true.
Yeah, so so remember our question from last episode about what Cassie and her were talking about? Apparently, okay, I don't really agree. I think that there's something else they were talking about, can't say, but she's trying to make it seem like they were talking about the Court of Nightmares visit. Could be part of it, but I don't think that was like crux of it.
No, not when they were so like solemn.
Yeah, so she will give Cassie and Azriel the kill order as a solstice gift one day. I want Feyre to see it.
Yeah, me too.
I want them to... Can we do it just now? Dude, there's gonna be discourse because of the war, people die in war.
Oh no, people die.
Just come back, tell her mom that's like, oh yeah, Uncle Kyr died on the battlefield. You can lie about that. Anyway, no, you gotta make it. No, well, I'm not sorry. Me. Okay, I'm saying public in the sense of I want people to know that I killed him. Like that vibe. Not like a public execution. No.
You want bragging?
Yeah, of course they would.
I mean, that arm shattering was almost a public execution.
Very much so. So immediately, Feyre, when I read this the first time, I'm like, is Feyre just like, she just doesn't give a fuck at this point. Like, she's just saying whatever comes to her mind, which is very much a me move, but also like, she's like, so about Cassian.
Her needs are focused on her painting. Her mind is going to wander. Her mouth is going to wander.
She's like, you've been with Cassian, but Azriel? And she laughed. And I kind of feel bad a little bit. She's like, Azriel. It's like,
no, Azriel doesn't deserve it.
Is that anything? Why would you? I think it's more the fact that like, she thinks of him like family, which makes me so sad because he does not see her that way. Oh my god.
So protective.
I know, that's your boy.
That's my boy. More, you're treating him so bad.
She swore off of any of Rhys's friends. Azriel's has no shortage of lovers, though. Again, I don't think that's true. I feel like he makes most of those people up.
Yeah, probably.
That's just, again, that's not canon, and that's not something we even know reading ahead. Yeah, but
like, maybe he only does like a fling or two here and there when he actually needs to get out physical steam.
Yeah. I love how she says this, though, even though I, was kind of sad about it. She's like, honestly, the problem wouldn't be me. She said she could strip off her clothes right in front of him and he wouldn't touch her because he thinks that he's a bastard born nobody.
And he hates his scars.
That too. All of those bat boys think that because they all grew up bastards, they all think that they're not worthy of anybody.
Ugh.
Why do I love this trope? But I also it's the fact that they're very strong males, right?
Yeah.
They're not insecure males.
No, they're strong males, but at the same time, it's just like internal.
They're insecure of relationships because they've never had good ones.
Of their status.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this. When we got to Adriata. So they have princes, right? Because when I was thinking of the hierarchy of the lords, there's obviously the High Lords, but literally Cressida and Varian are both princes and princesses of Adriatis. Why can't they be princes of Valaris?
They might as well be at this.
I was like, you can be a prince of a city. Why doesn't... And I think it's because I don't think they deserve it. Which, shut the fuck up, you do.
They so do.
Long digression, but anyway. Moore says to paint Azriel and Cassian's eyes so that they can watch over... All of them can watch over her. Which is so
of course, doesn't say to paint Rhys's eyes.
No, because he's gonna be there. I'm gonna be watching them. Sorry,
he's gonna be watching her.
Oh god. So, and she's literally saying Moore is all of us in this scenario. She's like, is it really bad to be his mate? No.
In fact, it seems rather good.
And especially
most girls would be jumping at the opportunity to be mates with a High Lord.
Oh, exactly. And I love how she brings up about learning about their tangled history. She's literally asking and probing questions. She wants to know. But the thing is,
she wants to know, meaning she keeps asking these, suggesting that plans to stick around regardless. Might as well do it with a mate.
So it's just, yes, out of all the people, Rhysand is the one guy throughout this whole thing that fits so well with her specifically.
Yeah. Of course she doesn't see it. Of course.
She's the main character, dude.
Main characters don't see anything.
Shut up. But anyway, I love how Moore spends the night. I didn't think she was going to spend the night. But yeah, she spends the night and then she teaches her how to paint, but she's just drawing stick figures.
Which, same though.
That'd be you trying to teach me how to paint and me just being
just imagine, just little stick figures painted on a baseboard or something.
But yeah, she leaves her to it, right? And so as she's looking around and still painting and looking through all this, she's finally, she literally has this kind of, in those movies where it's kind of like a dream bubble or something. She has that kind of daydream of where she's seeing this future for herself that we have never seen her have.
She's never thought she'd have a future. She's just been living day by day. I mean, she kind of had one when she said that she wanted to see her sisters married off and she could paint every day with her father. She kind of had that dream then, but even then she didn't imagine specifics about it.
And yeah, and even when they got freed from Amarantha, there was no, it's just, oh, we're home.
Cool.
There was no, oh, now our future can begin. Because it was doomed. It was doomed to fail.
Because there was no future with Tamlin.
It's but it's also who's in the future. Because, she's talking about, even though Rhys is mainly in this future in terms of her deciding this, she also brings up everybody else walking through. We have seen this foreshadowed. Her hanging out with Amryn in the apartment, her going up to train with Cassian, them sitting and having dinner, and Moore and her walking through Valaris.
And talking about their day.
It's all been foreshadowed.
It's all been done already.
This is what I want. This is what I want to be doing for the rest of my life.
Your rest of your long life now.
And it's aww. And, so she says she not only a vision for the future with her relationship, but also a future for her career. I know that's a weird way to say that, but no, it's her passion.
It's definitely it's now a future not just for a relationship, but a future for her following her dream.
Yeah, so her dream is now moved from her wanting her sisters to be married off and her to just have time to paint. She wants to finally go into the artist quarter and she wants to have her own studio.
Studio.
Yeah, studio, so that she can teach others how to paint. So she can teach others how to paint and also get through the time that she did through art.
She wants to meet other artists because she hasn't really had that chance and like learn what they know and help other people get through hard times like she got through. And but also I think there's another level to that, because she's saying, I want to help people the way that I've helped paint. It's like suggesting that she is thinking of herself as help, that she's considering that she has gone through this hard time.
And I love how she brings up, okay, Reese is gonna pay for the studio, and then I'm gonna sell my painting so I can pay him back. And then I literally, when I read this the first time, I was like, no. Pay him back.
Nah, not monetary anyway.
Sorry, we just like hand clapped.
You mean high-fived?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Hand clap. That's, yeah. We clapped hands. We high-fived, okay?
Hand clapped. We hand clapped.
Oh my god. But I love how it's like, pay him back. I'm like, have you not been listening?
No. Literally, she's tried to like pay him back for things before.
You pay him back just by breathing.
And soon, that's another way as well.
That's a Twilight quote right there. But I love how she's also, when she specifically talks about Reese, you know, them dancing, talking, and then specifically, this is what made me love talking to each other at the end of the night in bed. Yes. I was like, that is my fucking dream.
That's so domestic.
That's so cute and sweet. That's like wifey husband material. I love it to death. I love that.
They're not gonna be just mates. They're gonna be husband and wife.
Hell yeah. Well, because if they're going to be High Lord and Lady, because again, you know, there's no High Lady, so it has to be, she's the Lady of the Night Court. So there is a level of marriage, which I mean, what they talk about later. So I love how she's also, not only is she in that way, but she also will die to defend it with her last breath, and she will fight to defend it, which is something we didn't see her do.
No.
By the way, for people who are clocking how many days it's been, she spends 5 days in this cabin.
You're right, because Moore returned after 3 days, and then she spends another 2.
Okay, this only occurred to me when listening to it this time. Was anyone also like, what the fuck is don't you guys have something to do? Wasn't this a time crunch situation? Like, I know that the queens haven't said anything back, but like, I mean, again, we get to it, but weren't we supposed to be doing something? Like, again, I love how, I mean, that gives us room to have this whole thing, have this encounter. But I did think about that
we
this time.
We can suspend our logic and disbelief.
I know.
While Sarah plays with our hearts.
I love how this time, though, she hears a knock, and it's like...
She just jumps up immediately thinking it's Moore.
She's like, oh, it's Moore. And okay, I don't know about you, but I also went, oh, that's not Moore. Like,
no, definitely.
For reading this the first time, I was like, nope, that's not Moore.
Yeah, so basically, you know, when Moore arrived, it was about a series of quick knocks, like light quick knocks of like tap, 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 tap. This one is a thunderous, impatient knock. That's already different. Moore is not thunderous and impatient. She's kind of impatient, but not thunderous in that sense. And also now I heard it as well.
It's so yeah, she like whips the door open, is like waiting for Moore to come inside, and then who's leaning up against the door frame?
A very nervous, freezing Reese. Like he's like seems almost trembling.
I imagine him I imagine him waiting for a minute before he knocks.
Oh yeah.
And trying to how do I lean up against this door frame? Like how do I do it in a way where it's
I just stand here with my arms by my side, or can I cross my arms, or should I have my wings out? No, I should have my wings tight.
Should I have them flared? Like, should I say hello, Farrah darling, when she opens the door? Like, how do I greet? I feel like he was thinking about it.
He was.
So, not canon, but
not
like
canon,
100%.
But like at the same time.
Chapter 54. Bear with us. This is all the lore. This is now everything. Like, if you want to go back and, well, you can't go back until you read the rest of the series, but like, specifically the Under the Mountain episode from Reese's POV. Yeah. We talk about this scene a lot in that spoilery section. Yeah. So it's episode 7, mini episode 7 of the first season. So I just want to shout that out if you want us to like deep dive more into that.
Yeah.
But we talk about this.
And we'll mention it again once we finish this season.
Yeah, this is wild. This whole scene was so raw and oh my god. So just bear with us. There's a lot of lore, there's a lot of context, but there's also a lot of emotion. So let's fucking just get into it.
I'm already sensitive.
Yeah, so we listened to the graph since we're together. I had her listen to the graphic with me. So we were like, she was in tears this whole time pre-recording. So yeah, she's cried herself out a little bit, but she'll probably do it again. So obviously, stare back. wings out. So he flew up here.
Right. Because, of course, we got to remember, like, they track his magic. He doesn't want to risk that.
Yeah, because he knows they're going to be at this cabin for a while.
Hopefully a while.
I love how her first thought, though, is she says, if I asked him to leave, he would.
Why are you considering that?
I mean, yeah, don't consider it, but also, like, I like the mentality. It's like, yeah, he would listen to you.
Because he respects you.
He respects women.
Because he loves you. You just happen to be his mate, too.
She's just not saying it out loud. Or sorry, she's not saying it in her mind. Like, she even says that later. She's like, I didn't even dare to say it in my mind.
Yeah.
So she just doesn't want, she's being stubborn.
She's getting the brunt of it.
I hate that now I mean, again, I understand why we got that a little bit Azriel thing before. Because I thought that was kind of random when she asked it. And I was like, oh no, it's because all the Bat Boys think that they're nobodies. And think that they're not worthy of the woman that they're pursuing. It's like, do you understand that just makes you more attractive as a person?
Because you're actually like kind of down to earth.
When you're like, okay, obviously I wouldn't want my man to be like down on himself. This idea of the I'm not good enough for you trope, it's like, no, you are enough. And that's exactly why.
It's kind of different from like the whole idea of like, oh yeah, I'm so great because he wouldn't say this, but like because I am the High Lord or I'm a general or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just like any female would want to be with me. It's so great. Versus here, it's like they're very down to earth. They're very humble. Like even if like they do have all of these positions, these high positions, they're going to be really real with it.
It's funny because they have the bravado to back up an ego.
They do, like, but they don't really have that.
They don't. But so like that's what I'm saying. So out of all the people that you would think that would, okay, I'm not saying they'd be worthy of an ego, but the like somebody who would actually have backed up, okay, you are, no, they're probably the most insecure about their status, even though they're like the best in the whole world.
It's literally just because of what level, quote unquote, level they were born in, like what rank they were born in. But like that just, they worked their way up. You would think they'd, I'm protective of them.
Oh, 100%.
And words are failing me.
I love how they're really casual at first. Nothing happened. Like, it's just like, oh, you painted us. Oh, let's just, talk about this instead of going right in.
I really want to know his reaction to seeing the wings above the fireplace.
I feel like he was so happy.
Because the only like wings she's like really looked through though
are his.
So those are actually probably his wings.
Yeah. I mean, she's obviously seeing Cassie and Azriel,
but not that close.
She wasn't looking at theirs.
Not that closely, anyway.
No. I love how he immediately is like, why didn't you paint mine? Okay. I love Feyre just, okay, we're getting right into it. Let's go with the honest route. God.
Finally being honest about it. But also she kind of like spirals a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, no, this is a total me move of just like, well, at first, da-da-da, and then, well, I mean, and then that too. I mean, okay, so yeah. She like says, she's like, well, at first, I was so mad at you for not telling me, and then, I was worried I'd like him too much, and that you wouldn't feel the same, and then I would start wishing you were here, and then...
What do you mean he wouldn't feel the same?
You're just assuming that. Also, I know I assume, but Jesus. So yeah, Moore kept her promise. He never knew, even now, he had to find her. Kind of think it's fun, but after he got healed, he went searching for her, but it took him a while to recover, so that's why it took him longer to get there, but there's only really so many places that are secure that they could have gone.
And even then, I have a feeling like he was also flying for a while as well. So it makes me think that like maybe the cabin, if you're like looking at the map that we got, like the cabin is maybe on the further side from where Windhaven is. Yeah. So like it's a much further fly as well.
Because the thing is, you can winnow to it to a certain point, but he didn't winnow. He just flew right in.
Which probably, honestly, he was flying for, I don't know, a day or so.
Mm-hmm. The funniest fucking thing. So, he's about to sit down. Or like, it's like, oh, you've healed. She's like, you must be hungry. I'll make something for you. And he's just like, you'd make me food? And he sounds so boyish. And I'm just like, oh, baby.
And of course, she doesn't know what that means.
Well, yeah, we don't either. Like, when I read it the first time, I was like, huh? I mean, now looking back on it, it's just like, oh, this soup.
At first, I was thinking that he was like, wait, you'd make me food? As in, like, wait, I thought you were still mad at me. Why are you offering to make food?
I mean, it's a nice gesture regardless of what it means.
Yeah, but now it means something.
Yeah, so apparently, in their... time to eat. In their Fae culture, it's important when a female, specifically the female, offers the mate food. Like, this is... I love how feminist Reese brings it up. This was back when we were, just merely beasts or whatever. Yeah. When it was purely primal.
It's like probably some of our primal primal ancestors or something.
Right. And so the first time matters. So apparently if a woman makes food for the man, that means that she's accepting the bond, which is kind of powerful that the woman has to accept it.
That's true.
There's at least a lot of power in the woman. Because the thing is, I guess, that kind of sucks for the man, though, because, like, the man is just accepting it.
Right.
In terms of that, there is no, like, the male, well, I guess the male could refuse the offer.
Could say, no, I don't want your food.
True. I guess I didn't think about it like that. We're thinking this out, like, on the fly. I didn't even think about that, but yes. So she's like, well, I can't cook. So she's just heating it up in a pan. Like, it's not even like she's making it.
He's just like, you would cook. And she's just like, heat, not cook. I don't cook.
Yeah, it's like,
woman in the kitchen who can't cook?
I mean, she literally just, like, roasted shit over a fire her whole life. There was no cooking in a kitchen.
Now she literally is doing the same thing, except she just happens to have a pot.
I love how, when he explains this, I love how people make a whole goddamn party for this.
I just imagine them, like, all, like, standing around a single table where the male, like, sits haughtily, and then, like, the female comes in and offers, like, oh my, here is food. And then it's like, takes a bite and cheers.
It makes me think that, you know how people have parties for everything now? It makes me think of that. We're just like, do we have to have a party for this? I feel like, personally, with me, I would kind of do it like they are doing, more of a very one-on-one instead of this really extravagant.
I mean, I already feel pressure having people see me eat. So, like...
And you wouldn't even be eating.
I can be the man in the situation.
You can. It's, here's the situation now. She says, tell me everything.
And he understands.
Tell me the story. So he sits down, parks it. As she's stirring the pot this whole time he's talking, this is the ultimatum. I mean, obviously, we know she's already made up her mind, but she just wants to hear it just so she has everything because of the security. I want to have all of the information before I 100% say yes.
Of course, he's probably freaking out of like, oh my god, if like I gotta tell her this, then she'll make her decision afterwards.
Because he still thinks that she'll reject him.
They're both like confused in the head.
So yes, she will, by the time that he's done with the story, she'll either give him the food or I don't know what else she'd do with it. Drink it herself? That'd be kind of fun.
Toss it down the sink. Save it for later. Just put it in like a fridge or something.
Yeah. I love how when she's like, start from the beginning. Oh, we're starting from like the way beginning. Okay.
The beginning of like when he first quote unquote saw her.
Yeah, we're getting all the way back to the war. So this is back when he was a youngster. Yeah. So Cassian, if you guys remember, there was, I think it was during their dinner scene, their first initial dinner scene, Cassian brings up that Rhys was captured by Amarantha before Under the Mountain at all. It was during the 500-year war before.
And Rhys had interrupted and said, that is a story for another time.
Which now
is another time.
We're getting it. So basically, obviously, Cassian and Azrael weren't with them, right? Because they were in different legions. We had that information. But they didn't know that he was taken prisoner. And it was Amarantha's camp, specifically. So that's why he knows so much about what happened to Jurian and said everything.
Right.
So captures him and his men, people that he had with. And the shackles that they had the other night, they put those on him and then they tied him up in between two trees.
And the ash
bolts in his wings.
Very similar to what we literally just saw a few days ago.
Which makes sense why it was so triggering.
Yeah.
And so obviously it was to get information about the Night Court forces, right? Because they're a force to be reckoned with. Now that we know the Illyrians are so tough. So they murdered and tortured his men in front of him. Instead of torturing him, tortured the others to get him to talk. And he didn't. And so we do learn from Rhys, yes. Apparently these shackles or whatever were made from Hybern's land itself, like this rock, and it nullifies all high fae magic, even his, as powerful as his. I wonder if it would do Amarant's. I don't feel like it would.
I don't think so.
Because it's not high fae magic.
Probably be from this world. I just wanted to touch on the fact that Amarantha, like, didn't, like, hurt, like, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, that was a lot of likes.
It was.
I wanted to touch on the fact that Rhys said that all Amarantha had to do to break him was to threaten to cut off his wings. For me, I don't know why that part stuck out a little bit more. I mean, we already know how sensitive Illyrian wings are. The whole idea of then Rhys being under the mountain and not showing his wings to Amarantha at any point during that. I think it surprised me because I'm like, oh wait, but does that mean like Amarantha had seen his wings? Obviously. but then never like asked about them.
I feel like the cop-out answer for that is like what he says. She didn't even fucking pay attention to him at all.
That's true.
So I don't even think she would have noticed.
That may be
and
true.
Or cared.
Yeah.
I feel like with the wings thing, I feel like they think that they'll die. So like if they needed him for information, they can't really just cut off his wings like that. I mean, they could have tortured his wings beside what they already did. But they didn't think about that.
That's true. And of course, Amarantha wasn't acting.
No, she wasn't obviously, and I think that was the part that baffled me about this the most, was that Amarantha, the one that we all fucking hate, didn't even give a shit that he was there. Didn't even care, didn't even notice him.
He was just a High Lord?
Yeah, he was cannon fodder because she was so, at this point, when he got captured, Jurian already killed Clithia. So she was on gung-ho mission.
Yeah.
So thinking about anything.
Just imagine if he had been captured any earlier.
So obviously, because they are under her orders, though, to kill all those soldiers, that was her plan. Like, obviously, she's not doing the execution, but she made the order. So he's like plotting her death to the point where he thinks that he's not going to see his friends and family again.
He's like on a suicide mission.
So he says to get out of the chains, he would snap his wings off or like tear them off.
Damn.
And at a time and place that he picked, he would kill Amarantha as his last dying blow. And I love how he brings up that he was going to see more Cassian, Amaran, Azrael on the other side. And I was like, oh.
He'd wait for them though on the other side. They would get to the other side and beat his ass.
This is before Under the Mountain. Like, we're not even there yet. But lucky for him, that same day, Jurian decided to battle Amarantha, which of course, okay, do you find it a little comical though that the humans who worshipped Jurian as this savior went out like a fucking bitch?
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
Like, again, I don't like Amarantha, but I think it's funny that it's like, even Reese is teasing him a little bit. He's like, Jurian was going to take my killing blow.
No, he wasn't.
He didn't. Yeah, he wasn't.
Human going up against a very old Fae warrior, hybrid commander.
Yeah.
No way. He probably didn't even get a single blow on her.
I don't think so.
Especially not with how mad she was.
So, obviously, apparently Reese saw him get his eye cut out and his finger cut off.
Imagine having a front row seat to that battle.
Imagine, yeah. So then she takes him back to her hut, kind of like how he did with Clithia in terms of how he tortured her, but like way worse.
Yeah.
This is how she loses the war, because she didn't notice that Reese's father appeared.
She was so focused on hurting and torturing and making Jurian feel pain.
And so she killed him rather than let him be free.
The whole idea of like letting a monster like that be free.
Okay. And so then of Reese's standout father, I think this is the one time that I'm like just actually mad at him. I feel like the other ones we haven't really gotten enough stories to be actually mad. He said that he was a failure for getting captured and his men getting captured, so they made him leave the ash bolts in his wings. And so he was worried, the nurses were worried that he wouldn't be able to fly again if he tried to go out and fight again. So he got benched for the entire rest of the war.
Which, to be fair, didn't like happen for too much longer, but still.
But he wasn't there. That's an important thing to bring up. He wasn't there when the treaty was originally forged. So he wasn't even in on the discussion. Not that he would give anything to that discussion. They wouldn't have listened to him. But Amarantha and Hybern got off free. There was nothing. All they had to do was just get rid of their slaves. And even then, they killed them anyway.
All it said, oh yeah, there have been enough lives ended. We don't need any more. It's like, well, these two are like the commanders and literally, no.
They were the ones who led the main charge. It would make sense to be like okay,
sure,
get repercussions for it.
Don't kill like the grunt soldiers. I get that. You don't need to punish them.
It was so upsetting because I love how the little detail though of them finding out this information is Cassie and Azrael lugging Reese up to the cabin and learning about it there.
At least someone sent a letter up there.
Yeah, or like somehow got their magic there. But what also is important that he notes is that the Night Court freed their slaves a long time before him. Yeah. Because, I mean, it makes sense. They can't keep their minds all at bay. It makes sense because they can't protect Belarus that way.
Because they breed too quickly.
Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, you're not wrong. And because of how free they were to kind of roam, they could have told anybody.
Right.
It makes sense.
It does.
So then, obviously, no, Reese, Cassie, and Azrael were not happy about that at all. Especially Reese being tortured by and his men. Like, there's no justice. Amarantha just roam free. He's just able to roam free like that. I love how he brings up about how they changed. Again, they were even young then. They were young as fuck, but they came back differently somehow. I feel like it's more understood now, but there was a time when like people didn't really know about the war PTSD. Like where they just thought like soldiers went crazy. It's like, no, it's an actual disorder. It's like an actual thing.
Because trauma, you've seen a bunch of death.
Mm-hmm. And killed people. Not innocent people necessarily, but people nonetheless.
Living.
Mm-hmm. I love how he brings up about how his father was just like, you just gotta live with it. Great advice. Like, you're not gonna...
the same thing. Great advice, Dad.
It's like, okay, whatever. Glad he's gone.
Sad the way that he went, but glad he's gone.
So now we're getting to the point where Amarantha has come back. So it's skipping forward. So that was the precursor. So that was how he met Amaranth first time. Mm-hmm. And again, she doesn't even remember him. But so when she comes back and does her whole bullshit of wanting trade and shit, Rhys and Tamlin are the only ones that don't trust her. And they could have been good in that if they both talked about it. I'm not saying it was Rhys's fault, but like, if they actually conversed about it, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I don't think so, because all the other High Lords too. All the other High Lords just like thought it was like, oh yeah, she's being sincere.
Oh yeah, she's probably changed.
It makes so much sense though why she targets him more than just anyone else, because she is apparently Tamlin's father was like one of her best friends,
right?
Which is like, I can't believe that bitch can have friends, but whatever. but
then again, it's Tamlin's dad that we've heard so much about.
Which, I mean, obviously, if she had a crush on Tamlin, all that fucking weird. Still, it's so weird.
I'm in love with my best friend's son.
I saw him grow up ever since 500 years ago. Well, she was 500 herself. Like, ew. She probably was.
Honestly, yeah. I saw him grow up, and I just knew that I was going to be with him.
Because she couldn't be with his father because he made it.
Isn't cheating a thing?
I mean, it is, but I don't know. Obviously, of course, that made him more of a target. And so originally when I was thinking about this, right, when we found out originally about the curse back in the first book, I was like, when I was reading this book, I was like, how did Rhys get roped into drinking the wine? I was like, I feel like Rhys is such a smart dude. I can't really understand how that happened.
Right.
So now we get it. He was planning on killing Amarantha at the party.
He was busy working on it.
Under the mountain, yes. So, but the thing is, he didn't bring anybody from the inner circle there. He didn't bring Cassian, didn't bring Azrael, didn't bring Mor, didn't bring Amaranth. Amaranth would have been a force. But also, I understand why he bring her. Because he didn't want them
anywhere near
to
Amarantha.
Be privy. Yeah. So nobody smelled his drink.
And he didn't smell it himself.
Because he was so busy trying to worm through her ward. And the thing is, I love how they talk about how she's faster and older. Because I think that's a lot. I don't want to bring it up too much. But in a vampire drama, the idea of the older vampire being quicker and more strong is such a thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I like how it's kind of being brought up. Amarantha, though we hate her, was not dumb at all. She knew Rhys's powers and knew that he probably would be, she knew that he would be enemy.
Right, more enemy-like.
So and also because there's more Daemati in the world than just Rhys. She probably learned that a long time ago.
Right, and so she trained against that specific skill set.
So yes, as his power is getting ripped away after drinking the wine, the last dreg of his power, which we know about, but he's reiterating it again with more details this time.
Yeah.
So when he sends the last dreg of power to them, he binds the inner circle to Valaris. They cannot leave Valaris, because if they do, then that could bring the wards down. So he knew that was the only way they were going to stay, because they would have went to save him.
100%.
And died.
100%.
Trying to save him. It's so sad. It's so sad. Because again, it makes that like more, now we understand why they always have been upset about it, but that's why they feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because they physically could not go. And I know that was him doing that, but they could, but Valaris would have been in danger. And they needed to protect the people. Fuck.
But like also even though it's sad, also the amount of power he has, even when it was draining, he was able to like clear all the minds of the Court of Nightmares, like the people that were there, do that binding thing. It's insane how much he was able to do with his last dredges of power.
Yeah, in that last moment. Because even in the first book, they said about even his power was more strong than the other High Lords.
Yeah.
And they said it was because, because he was the whore, he was given more power. No, it wasn't. It's literally just because he's more powerful than everyone else, and so he had more.
It's like literally the Amarantha spell took away a percentage of their power. And if he has more power to begin with, his percentage he has left is going to be higher.
And I love how when he brings it up. Yes, I don't want to forget what you just said. So he brought some of the Court of Nightmares people with him because he couldn't really, everybody else was bringing their courts, right? He couldn't just come with nobody.
Right.
Very unfortunate that those poor people that he picked, even though we don't like the Court of Nightmares people, so they got wiped if they had any news of Valaris. And then as soon as that happened, then what happened? Then you can say it.
Then Amarantha, just because she could, she slaughtered half the people he brought. Just because she could.
I don't want to make a joke out of it, but when I read it, I was like, she literally Thanos snapped.
She did.
She literally just was like, because I think she thought that was that was his whole court.
I think so.
Because remember, if we think about it, everybody else brought their whole court too. Because that's why everybody in the Spring Court was cursed.
Yeah.
Because everyone came. So that's what she thought. She thought she was eliminating half of his court when that was half of his court.
Yeah. So only a quarter of them, but still that is a lot of life lost.
I feel bad though for them because I feel like the people he brought weren't the people that we disliked. Because Kira's fucking fine. Everybody that, they're fine. Why couldn't Kira be part of that group? Nah, but then his death wouldn't be meaningful.
True.
But yes, so very, very unfortunate. But as that's happened, right, now they're stuck under the mountain. But before Tamlin gets cursed, she's seductively looking over at him and I'm like, gross.
It's like, I thought you hated this guy because his dad killed your best friend.
And like you've said before, hate fucking is a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he even says it. He says...
And Reese is attractive.
He wanted to literally... She wanted to dishonor his father's ghost. Which like...
Also, she seems to have a thing for younger guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Powerful younger guys.
Who she has control over.
She can't be with the top. She has to. There's no way. Which makes me sad. But anyway, I meant like in a dominating way, like not in like a sweet way. So, I mean, he doesn't sugarcoat this. He's just like, yes, now we're starting another war. He's like, to make sure that she doesn't look at my court again and have that happen, I'm going to give her what she wants. And he gives it to her.
He uses every last drop of his power to make it feel so good.
Yeah, and like to make her, like he said that he made her beg for him, but to crave him so that he could get close to her.
So that she didn't look at his court.
Yeah, but also so that there might be an opportunity
to get out.
For him to kill her.
Well, yeah, kill her first and maybe then get out, but if anything, to kill her.
But she was smart as fuck. She knew that even though they were hate fucking, she knew how powerful he was, not just only magically wise, but physically. I love how he brings up how she blocked herself from physical attacks.
Yeah.
Because he could have fucked her day up physically, but she shielded that too. She knows that's why her curse was so perfect. It was so convoluted and messy, and it just, Amarantha was smart as fuck, but also I hate her. I can't believe I could have so much hate for a dead character already when I just want to be like, I want her to die again. I want her to get brought back just for us to kill her again. One for Feyre to kill her. So anyway. So of course, that being said, over those 50 years, she began to trust him and gave him tasks to do so that they wouldn't look at the court again.
And let him out from time to time.
I love the details. I'm sorry. I don't love this concept. He's talking about how he lost hope in ever seeing the Inner Circle again.
Yeah.
And his family and Valaris. And I'm just like, But then, girl, this shocked me to my core. I wasn't shocked about the mating bond. I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. This, didn't think about this at all. This was like how the curse was to me in terms of shock value. Of like, probably even more so in terms of being like, now if I look back and look and read between the lines, I see it. It's there. It's right there.
It's there.
And it's hidden, but I don't know it. So 3 years ago from today, like from the present, it's been a year since she's been in Prythian. So 2 years before. So when she was still human, he starts having dreams, misty dreams, fogged dreams, like specific images, things popping up. He said like a den of rabbits or something.
So he saw a hand painting flowers, hay bales, and then he saw a warden of rabbits.
Well, and specifically with the hand painting the flowers thing, it's like ding, ding, ding. Wait, what? We literally just heard this. Hold on. So he said, I saw a painter's... Well, no, he saw those images. Did not see until he saw a painter's hand. It was like small images, and then all of a sudden it was a painter's... And like he actually saw a person. He thought he was just seeing from somebody's eyes. But that when I read that, I was also like, that's exactly what happened to her with him going in between minds and eyes. So then he sees a hand and then knows it's a human hand. As she's painting the wardrobe, right? This makes this wardrobe thing so much better when we read it. Again, we say it in one of our spoiler episodes in the first season, he sends an image. He sends the night sky image to this. He doesn't think it's received, but guess what? It was. Because she literally said it like the night before. I painted the night sky. I don't really know why.
And if we remember, he froze while she was pulling out the arrows and saying that. He's like, wait, what?
Now we get it. Now everything makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like in that context, everything makes more sense about why he's like, why would you about? I guess I thought of it as more of a, oh, well, she's going to be part of the Night Court. She's his mate. Like, that's supposed to be the foreshadow. No, it's this. But anyway, he treasures these moments because it's like, he's like so much in despair in this hell dimension. But these moments of when he sees this human hand or whatever the hell this images are, it's a level of knowing that there's goodness in the world, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like something like you hear a lot, you know, people who are in bad situations, they start to daydream about if they weren't in that situation and they cling on to that, and that's what keeps them going. So that's basically what's happening with Reese here.
It's that shock. Yeah. I was like,
it made me very happy.
No, it did. I was really, really happy. One day, as he keeps having these dreams, right, he ends up jolting from a nightmare, and it's clear. Mm-hmm. It's clear this time, and it's of the it was
woman.
It was Feyre's first nightmare at Spring back in the first, and I don't know if you guys remember. Go back and read it, but there is this shadow figure that is described in the text. I think I said it. I think the best part about when when we read through these, I say the foreshadowing, but you don't think about it yet. I think that's the best part about it. But yes, there's a shadow figure that is Reese standing in her dream. Whatever. So yeah, go back and read that section. I don't remember specifically what chapter it's in, but it's her first nightmare. And so now we know that she's having and then she has a nightmare of like the bogs in there too. And
she's running from.
Yeah, he's like, oh, she's in Prythian. She's seeing the like foggy element was the wall. That makes sense. It makes sense that that's how it was. So he's like a little bit. He's kind of excited, but also worried. Like, why is she here?
Why is this human in Prythian?
And the thing is, I brought this up to you earlier. He doesn't even think this whole time for 1 second. He doesn't even think anything about the curse. No. That's the first thing I would think of. Oh, a human in Prythian nearing the end of the curse time. That's fate, bro. But he's not thinking about that at all. He doesn't care about the curse. He doesn't care about that.
He just cares about her.
He cares about knowing her, wanting to know who this person is that he's been seeing for 3 years.
I love the fact now, almost like obsessed with it. He's like sorting through every single vision he's had and all of like the dreams and stuff and trying to figure out who she is.
And so now it's getting to the point where like his scent, he can smell her from the dream. And it's like, that's strong. Which makes it more likely that he knew about the mating bond beforehand. But then, of course, one of her nightmare dream scenarios is of Calanmai, of the bonfires. And he's like, well...
I know where those are.
I only know... Yeah, I kind of know where that is.
And he still doesn't think about the curse.
So that's why he asked Amarantha to get out. He's like, I want to see if Tamlin is... it's getting so close. Amarantha was so paranoid. She's like, yeah, go and find me traitors. But the thing is, he had to come back with something.
He did.
So Calanmai. So he goes. She gets permission from her or whatever, and like he immediately tracks her down, smells her, and he's like, "Oh, she's here. She's here." And utterly human. I think part of him was just like, "Is she really? Maybe she's like." I feel like he was thinking that somehow.
Yeah, like that would maybe kind of explain why she was in Prythian,
and then also explain why he's having visions, because that would like it's so random to have it with this one human, right? And just all of a sudden, I don't even think I really get why though that's happening.
I still think it's a Fae heritage.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe because of that, like the mating bond told like that early on.
I also think it's like I don't know, man. I think that's fate whining in there a little bit.
Definitely.
Obviously, the shitheads who were
those bastards.
So we thought when he said, "There you are, I've been looking for you," it was him trying to protect her. No, it was because it was the first thing that came to his mind. There you are. Thank you for finding her for me.
Because he genuinely was looking for her.
That warms my heart every fucking time. That's why Cal and Mai is our favorite scene or at least my favorite scene of like that first part of the first book.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna see Reese. We're gonna see him.
And now that we've at the point where we know what is going through his mind.
Yeah, so like it makes like this whole book, I mean, and specifically these two, like this chapter in particular, makes me rethink the whole first book completely.
Yeah.
Not just Under the Mountain, because before, like, yeah, we were starting to reconsider what Under the Mountain was. Now the whole first book is like, what? With the nightmares, Cal and Mai, and just like the whole rest of it. Oh my god. Nothing is as it seems. Holy shit. Reese was always on the sidelines pushing things to happen. Good man. And so, but I think the sad thing is that when she saw him, I feel like he wanted her to know who he was. To have this sort of, oh, it's you. Like, hi. Like,
right.
But no, she wasn't seeing anything. She wasn't seeing, again, now in hindsight, knowing that there was a shadow there, but she wouldn't have seen it. Or would have been like, oh, that's Reese Ann. Because we didn't know him yet. But here's a part where it's so sad. She was so young and breakable and had no interest in me whatsoever. And if I stayed too long, someone would report back to her, say something about how close they were. But then when he started to walk away, she pulled him back.
Called after him.
She's like, wait, da-da-da. And so, oh god, that makes it so much more cute now because he's like, oh, she wants me to stay. Because he thought she wanted to be rid of him. No. Oh, sweetie boy. But he's like, no, I can't. I'm already falling for this woman that I've been seeing for 3 years in my mind. I cannot speak to her ever again because she will die. Again, doesn't even think about the treaty at all. He's just like, I don't know why you're in Prithian. I don't really care. And he's like, right then, he thinks he knows that he knew that they were mates. But he wasn't going to acknowledge it just yet.
Because how could he be mates with a human?
Right. And so I let you walk away for the first time. And he says that it was a gift from the cauldron to see her one time. At least one time. And
baby.
Stop. The whole thing with him falling for somebody that's human makes me hopeful for Cassian and Ness. I will say that when I first read this book, I was, oh, so a hi-fi can fall in love or like in a mate situation with a human.
Good.
Let's see. I think so. I think that's gonna happen. At least in my brain when I read it first time. But okay. So because Amarantha, like we said that he needed to bring back traitors, he legit broke into those assholes' minds, wiped their entire lives from them. Their lives, not memories, their life, and sent them to Amarantha and was so glad when she slaughtered them.
I was so satisfied by that.
Like, I thought at first that was one of the guys in the garden.
Oh.
The one that had the head through it. I think that was one of them.
I think so too.
I didn't pick that up the first time, but I was like, oh yeah, it's like the traitors. That would make sense why Amarantha was sending a message, because if she thinks that they're like conspiring,
she probably thought like that Tamlin would recognize them.
And she's like, I don't know. Like,
in fact, Lucian was just, I don't recognize him.
Yeah, it's like, no, of course they don't. It makes it so sad that he didn't think that, even though, okay, this was a little bit dumb on Reese's part, but this is a man in love, so I'll give him the pass. It's the idea that he didn't even think of why she was in the Spring Court. She's a human in the Spring Court alive. Tamlin must have known about, but he wasn't thinking, okay? He wasn't thinking. He was just, so when he shows up the next time to Tamlin's estate, he's like, oh, she's here. I smell her. Oh, fuck. She's with him. Oh, no.
Oh no.
Like, now that makes that scene, their confrontation, so much more depthful to me.
Yeah.
Because he's legit mad. But not legit mad in the sense of all that stuff that Tamlin did to him and his family. Not specifically Tamlin, but Tamlin's family and him. It's the fact that he had her. The person that he's been pining after for 3 years.
Tamlin got to her first.
And, you know, this was, again, remember, this is right after they, like, were foreplaying it in the hallway not too long ago. So that makes it, when he talks about, back in the first book, when he starts talking about, oh, she wants you between her legs or something. I feel like that was him just being
petty. Like, oh, she has such delicious thoughts about you.
Whatever. And most importantly, looking like she loved him. God. So, Big Brain Reese. This is fucking wild. I will never get over this in terms of like book history. This is amazing. Not only did Reese set all that up, he even sets up her going away. That wasn't even supposed to be he made made Tamlin make that decision.
Tamlin's so able to be manipulated.
So easily. So Rhys also doesn't want her to stay because he was like us especially when we talked about it with my dad in the last season, where it was like, no, she was gonna die regardless. Yeah. Even if she did say she loved him, she was gonna die. Mm-hmm. So this is circumventing that. He was also, like Tamlin, ready to just live out the rest of his days, but her to live free. Stop.
I feel like it must have given him like so much like willpower to be like, okay, I'm going to temporarily hurt to scare Tam.
Yeah, so he like held her mind basically. He didn't like hurt it, but he just held it so that she could feel it and scare Tamlin into a beg submission, which is kind of funny looking back on it. But so yes, I prayed my performance was enough to get him to send you away. But he was so selfish that he wanted to know her name. If anything, he was a little bit impressed that she lied to his face.
While he was still holding her mind.
While she well knew that he could tell.
And like on top of it, if you think back to the first book, she was thinking like, well, I know I need to answer quickly or else he'll just take it from my mind. No, he's already like hearing your thoughts as you're thinking that.
That's not how the magic works. But again, we have to give her the benefit of the doubt because she had no idea.
Yeah.
I think what's great about that is he doesn't look for it though.
True.
He doesn't look for her mind until she says it later. So, and then he walked away again. Second time walks away, thinks that that's going to be it.
That takes a lot of strength.
Because he walked away both of those times thinking it was going to be the last time. And then she just fucking keeps appearing. I don't know where. So yes, he was there the day that Tamlin and Lucien were brought to Amarantha's court. He wanted to the only reason he was there because he wanted to make sure that she was gone. Because he would have probably saved her case and got her out. You know how we said in the last one that Feyre made a decision to say Claire's name and that was the worst decision she ever made? I feel like Rhys also had that moment of, oh shit, I didn't think it was real.
Right.
He says that he thought that Claire was just a made-up name that she made, which makes sense. He did not know it was someone real.
But if it was a made-up name, she would have just said, like, Claire. She wouldn't have said better.
I guess he just wasn't thinking about that.
No, he was not.
No.
He was thinking about other things.
He just gave her the name, and so he is, like, horrified when Claire is brought down there. Like, oh shit, this is a real person.
I imagine, like, he's just, like, standing down there, and suddenly Claire's dragged in screaming, and he's like, who is this? And they're like, oh yeah, this is the girl that you were talking about. And he's like, wait.
But again, they're not gonna say anything, because, like, even though it's fucked. But the thing is, between Rhys and Tamlin, Rhys did something about it. Yeah. I mean, it's probably also, again, it's easier for him because he has mental powers, but he took her pain away. So she just had to scream when needed.
Like, he was probably in her head telling her when to.
But that's also a little fucked, too, to watch all this stuff going on in your body, but then it's a mental blockade, 100%. Yeah. But then at some point, it, like, was over a week, and he's like, no, I regret misery.
But the fact that, like, they still kept tormenting her body.
Even afterwards.
And mutilating, even after she was gone.
Fuck. Dude, Claire was really the real casualty of Under the Mountain. I'm not saying all of them didn't endure a lot,
and she still haunts them.
Oh my god. Again, and I told you this the first time we read this. I'm really proud, like, really happy that Sarah did that. I hate a one-off character just dying for no reason, and or, like, being so horrific and then not meaning anything. No, this means everything.
Even if, like, we didn't actually meet while she was alive. Like, she's clearly very important.
She was a known, unknown innocent to where we, like, sort of knew who she was, like, where she was from.
Yeah.
But didn't know her. Anyway, so obviously he thinks, yep, that's it. The curse, like, Claire was dead. The curse wasn't broken. Everybody's under the mountain. That's it.
Now to live the rest of my life in torture.
And then he's just like, okay, he doesn't say this, but then who fucking appears? The person that we did all this for.
Why the fuck is she here?
Why are you here? But instead of being mad, I feel like Tamlin was. It was more of anger from Tamlin's side.
Oh yeah, anger at like Tamlin for, like, maybe not sending her away or something. Like, he wasn't entirely sure, but definitely out of everything, fear like he's never known before, and he's lived over 500 years
and had all that shit that we got.
And yet this is what scared him.
And he didn't even know her name. He didn't know her at all. And he's just like, I did so much for this person.
This beautiful human person is making a deal with his most hated enemy.
I love how he brings up about how, like, they would delight in breaking her painter's hands, and he didn't want that to happen. It's like, Rhys, stop, please. You're killing us.
Which is probably why he pushed so much to see if Feyre would paint again, because that's where it started.
Oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, why didn't you paint? I mean, I love it when you paint. I mean, it's not like I've seen it.
Oh, that thought's actually gonna make me.
Oh, it's sad. Cute. Starting waterworks.
I'm fine.
But I love this being said. So as the adder's like beating her up, when he hears her name finally, it is like an answer to a question I've been asking for 500 years. That is a Twilight quote, 100%. Obviously, it's said better here. Like in a context, like I've been waiting 1,000 years for you. That's the Twilight quote. But oh, god damn it, he's so romantic for such like a haughty male. He's like so romantic and sweet. But then the biggest decision, he got his fight back.
He did.
No, I'm gonna start fighting again because this whole 50 years he's been complacent, just living like this. No, I'm gonna fight and we're gonna get out of here. Which, unlike Mr. Dog on the Throne there, didn't do jack shit. So obviously, watch the first trial. Obviously, the betting thing makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's sweeter that it makes it sweeter now. Now, reading back into the first book, when you reread it, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Which I will say, for anybody who out there who like has friends who are like reading ACOTAR for the first time and you've read, at least up until after Mist and Fury, it is so funny when you talk to people like that and just like, oh, he bet on her. And then somebody goes, why are you? It's just like, just wait.
Just wait. You'll be cooing at it too.
Just wait for like this man. Anyway. So he found the way in with her, right? The whole bone shattering thing, that was his way in.
Painful way in.
But a way nonetheless, so that, you know, even though she hated him, I don't think she ever really hated. I think she was just scared.
And hated the situation.
Everything. Yeah. Everything new and scary. So it was a way to get back. Like, obviously it hit all of his marks, right? Get Amarantha off her game. Also to be under enough her radar in a loophole where he could help her without them really knowing about it. But also to piss off Tamlin, not just because of what he did to his sister and mom, but it was because he had Feyre. I've been smiling so much. I just love this. I love this. So yeah, it makes sense why he dressed her up. Like, he dressed her up because if he dressed her in some elegant gown, Amarantha would be like, what? Make her dress up like a plaything so that you could get off the scent of whether, you know.
On top of that, you know, we talked about in all the previous episodes about the wine and the constantly getting drunk on it.
Yeah.
And like, he was legit doing that so that she didn't remember. She didn't have to witness the horrors.
And not just the horrors of dancing on him. It was like the idea of like people getting tortured and all the sounds, I think. Cause like, yeah, all those horrific sounds she heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was all for a reason. Again, in the moment, didn't seem like anything, but then we get to the big old broom closet.
He finally admits
he was jealous as fuck when he saw
it. Jealous.
That's why he was so mad when, and we said that back in like when we did the broom closet scene, he just was so angry. He's like, why do I care? Or whatever the hell he said. Yeah. It was like that. It's like, he cares about her so much and he's done all this and she doesn't see it, which is, I mean, it's his fault for not saying anything, but also the circumstances didn't warrant it. So he did kiss her to cover up evidence. Of course. But also, if this is going to be his last night on Earth with his mate, he's going to want at least one kiss. And again, she didn't hate it, all right?
No, she didn't.
She was just like, wow, there's tongue. And was like, oh, well, I just had Tamlin in my mouth. This is kind of gross. Not that she didn't like it. But the worst part about that is Amarantha saw right through that shit.
Yeah, true.
Saw right through it.
She finally caught on.
And that's, I mean, we kind of said that was kind of us not foreshadowing, but we kind of thought that at first anyway.
Yeah.
Seeing that he actually likes her. And so that's why she's so mad about it. I think the more depth here is that she's figuring out that he's liked her the whole time, not just now.
Like, she's putting two and two together of like the betting and then making the bargain and helping her heal, that kind of thing.
And then bitch made him service her all night.
Longer than usual.
Terrible. And
like trying to push the answers out of her.
And of course, he told her what she wanted to hear, but
that Feyre was just human trash. Insignificant.
And he didn't mean it, obviously.
Right.
But he wanted to see her one last time. He was gonna tell her then, that night before, when he comes back and he's all emotional again. He wanted to tell her everything then. Like, he kind of was on the way there. At least he told her a lot more information about himself.
That's true.
But he wanted to tell her everything. Mate-wise, everything. But he knew the deception would not, or like, not a deception, but it would seem like, why are you bringing this up? And again, she doesn't know anything about it.
Right.
So it'd be just, what?
We're
Okay.
mates? Is that some other kind of bargain that I have to get into?
It's like, oh, is this the bargain bond? I don't know. But so yes, then of course, the third trial happens. When she started torturing her, something snapped, and that's why he picked up the knife, tried to kill her.
The tether holding him back.
It's kind of maddening though, like he wasn't the one to kill her. I was a little bit mad.
After like all of his capture and 50 years of trying to plot her death.
But again, that is not even something he brings up at all. He's not upset about it at all. He's just happy she's alive.
And that Amaranth is dead.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she was being tortured, he knew then that they were mates. It hit him then. Because he said he was willing to die if she was gonna die.
He didn't want to be on the planet if he didn't want to be in the world if she wasn't in it with him. Or not even just with him. If she just wasn't alive, he didn't want to be alive either.
He wanted to die with her. All a better Romeo and Juliet story. But please, neither of you die. But yeah, then she actually died. And he said
he found this beautiful, wonderful thing, and now it was gone. That favorite was gone. Favorite was dead.
And he's like,
he couldn't deal with it.
He holds on to this this bond for dear life. And now we understand this whole time, every time they've magic talked to each other, every time it has been the mating bond. The bargain bond could not do that.
And it happened before she even had her demonic powers.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, but the thing is, we didn't really know much about like the powers, so it made sense that the bargain bond was, it's like, oh, they're tethered in some way. The eye. I feel like even in that regard, that was him subtly trying to make it seem like it was something else.
Right, because he said that the bargain, magic is like forms when, like, for what you need, and, Favor needed a friend right then, but I think it also talked about how, it showed that Reese needed to watch over her, had been watching over her, so I think that kind of had to do it. But yeah, like, in this scene where he's, like, freaking out because she's dead, like, he's grasping onto that bond, and, like, I totally imagine literally trying to get it, like, with his hands. Feyre had thought when she was in that dark spot, she was just felt the light. She felt the light, she felt that, like, tug, and she followed that back home. And home was not lying on the floor with Tamlin. Home was the other side of that bond.
And I think what's crazy about that whole bargain bond thing, right, is that, like, at every turn later, he made it seem like it was the bargain doing that. Getting through his shields, or, then inevitably them talking to each other in their minds. Like, that's not at all what that was. Or the feeling each other. That's mainly the most thing with that.
Yeah.
Like, the feeling of felt pride down the bond or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the mating bond. That's not the bargain bond.
No.
That has nothing to do with. But again, you don't think because you don't know. Now we know. But yes, he holds on to it for dear life, because if he holds on to it for long enough, they can all save her, because he knows that somehow they all put their magic together. Again, that never happened before, but like,
honestly, he probably read it somewhere, but he's like, all 7 of them were there. Like, they could do it.
And he would have gone into all their minds to do it.
He would make them do it, but luckily he just mentioned it, and they were in such shock that they were like, okay.
Yeah, they didn't need. And this whole time, it makes it so much worse that just Tamlin is sitting there rocking with her and kissing her, and it's just like.
Meanwhile, Reese is jumping from mind to mind, being like, come on, we gotta save her.
Like, and just weeping, like, oh my god, she's dead. Can't do anything about it now. Like,
Tamlin.
It makes it so much more aggravating. Damn it. So then, yes. So they bring her back. And so then said afterward, here's this moment of out on that outcropping or whatever. Yeah, the terrace. And he pulls on the mating bond because he wants to see what it'll do. And of course she shows up.
He's like, oh, what does this do?
It's like, oh, she's like, tug, tug. And then she shows up because he wanted to see her one last time, because he knew without that bond, without the bargain that they made, Tamlin would keep her away and then he'd never see her again.
The thing is, that's like his theme. He keeps saying, like, I'm gonna see her for the last time. Like, last time, I'm just gonna walk away from this. You don't get it. You can't just walk away. Fate has put you guys together.
She keeps coming back.
She's going to keep coming back.
She keeps coming back, bro. Like, you cannot escape. But he doesn't feel like he deserves it. That's why. Anyway, he was also gonna tell her right then, too. He was gonna explain everything. But then he saw how broken and tired she was and couldn't add something onto that. Which, good thing he didn't, because I probably would have... But he wanted to take her right then.
Yeah.
He just wanted to take her back to Valaris, and, obviously, that would have made everything worse.
If we think that it's, like, already bad with Tamlin right now, like, that would have been...
But something happened when she changed into being a fae that somehow, like, her changing made the mating bond become more transparent, and so it immediately snapped into place for him. Well, because obviously and like as he says, he's been in love with her up to this point, so that's why it snapped into place for him. But again, like we said, she didn't know what that was, so when he he stumbled.
Eyes wide. She's like, wait, why is he stumbling? Meanwhile, he's like, oh shit.
No, I actually, before I was just bringing this up as something that I thought was happening. Now it's real. So yes. So we finally get the aftermath of this. So he winnows directly into Valaris. Morrigan greets him. And he hasn't seen her in 50 years. And what's the first thing he says to her?
She's my mate.
Moore's like, great. Who?
I think if I were in Moore's place, I mean, obviously, I'm thinking that Rhys had told them immediately after Amarantha was dead that he was coming home. Mm-hmm. But, like, part of me imagined that he hadn't. And so it's like, what if he, like, came home and is like, she's my mate? It's like, who, Amarantha?
It's like, no, please don't.
No, but, like, I can also imagine him, like, crouched over on the floor, hands on his head of just like, she's my mate, she's my mate, she's my mate. And Moore is just like, I haven't seen you in 50 years and this is what you're saying. Are you okay? What's happening?
Are you okay, sir? And it makes sense why, like, Amren brought up about how he was not himself after Under the Mountain. And, I mean, obviously, but also because...
For trauma, but also because she was
not there.
Yeah.
And with Tamlin, living a happy life. Because he thought he was letting her go to live a happy life with someone she loved and that was in love with her. But the thing is, he said he kept feeling her despair and pain and sadness. I told myself you were happy, I should let you be happy, even if it killed me, even if you were my mate, you earned that happiness. He was gonna let her marry some other dude.
That is like commitment and loyalty, though.
Because he thought they were gross. Stop. But, so the detail of, so now we're fast forwarding to the day of the wedding. He was gonna get rip-roaring drunk with Cassian and Azrael.
Which we touched on before.
Yeah, we touched on it in one of the episodes.
It's like, he probably like showed up a little bit drunk and but like no, he was planning to get drunk.
But they didn't know why.
Imagine he drags them out and it's like, nope, we're getting drunk. It's like,
but then he hears her and no hesitation.
He probably just leaves Cass and Asbon.
He probably was like mid-drink, help me, somebody, anybody, and he's like,
no, he doesn't even set down the drink. He just lets it shatter. He throws it over his shoulder.
It just goes into the void with him when he winnows. He'll just let it go.
He just throws it over his shoulder. It's like, it's my time to shine.
And yes, of course, he finally sees her and she's like all pale and he's like, no, I had to call in the bargain right away.
That stupid wedding dress.
Something I was going to note that I didn't bring up before was something that he said. He said that after Under the Mountain, he was going to get rid of the bond. He was going to get rid of the bargain. He was going to let her go.
He just needed to call her one more time.
But he didn't want to do it yet because he wanted to see her one last time. But then when the wedding happens, he keeps the bargain because he was going to break it then. But he sees how unhappy she is and he wants her to
He says it's like him being like selfish, but it's like, honestly, well, even if it is selfish, who cares? Like, it's helping her.
That saved her.
He's being selfish and that selfishness is saving her.
Like, baby. And it killed him to send her back every time. That's why, like, it was so, he lingered whenever he sent her back.
And he's like, fight it. And he saw her wasting away.
It makes even that seem more, like, sweet. Even stuff in this book, it's like, oh, now that I know the context.
Or, like, the moment when they were in the, like, war room, and it's like, you really think I'm a monster.
Yeah, dude. That's why when we read it, when we were reading it here, I was just like, oh, I'm so mad at her. Because she's not getting it, man. She's not getting it. And now she's, like, rethinking all that.
She's doing a lot of rethinking.
Yeah, it killed me to know he was sharing your bed. Not just because they were mates, but he's in love with her. It wasn't because they were merely mates. Because he is just genuinely in love with her. But yeah, it was because he was in love with her. And that means more in this moment than the mating bond. Because the mating bond has a sense of entitlement to it, while it says like, no, I just hated seeing him with you because I just love you.
Like, you don't want to see your crush with anyone else.
And especially him. Out of all the people it could have been.
Right, so since Amarantha's dead, now Tamlin is his number one enemy, right?
I feel like, yes, to a certain extent. But then when she finally decided to come there, he was going to tell her. He's going to tell her everything.
He keeps saying that.
But of course, she was just starting to heal. Again, I feel like Rhys was right in his judgment, and she understands that, so that's why it doesn't like last long, her being upset about it. By the end of this. But I couldn't tell you because I didn't want you to feel nothing from me at all, or to feel something but then to be taken from me.
Like my family and my friends.
Until she was locked up. And he's like, oh, I would have killed him if I were there. I broke fundamental Fae law to get you here. And the thing is, something, of course, this is what Amren, his political advisor, would say. He said that if Rhys declared that they were mates, that would save the land in terms of being invaded.
He wouldn't force that
on her.
He wouldn't want to force it on her. And also, he can already protect his lands good enough, Amren. But I understand her concern.
Yeah.
But he wanted her to fall in love with him before knowing that.
He wanted her, like, love, not just... He wanted her to be with him for love, not just because they were mated.
It's so cute. I love how he says, I couldn't try to seduce you into the bond either. It's like...
Yeah, because she didn't seduce.
Yeah. I didn't want you to think that everything I did was to win you and to keep my land safe. But I couldn't stop being around you and loving you.
Couldn't stop loving.
I still can't stay away. Girl. This, like, I don't think I've ever heard that sound come out of you. That sounds like something how I would sound, but, like, I've never heard that sound come out of you. Holy wild. He is so fucking adorable.
My heart aches.
So, yes, end of story. End of his long-ass brigade. Now she knows everything.
This fucking monologue is the death of me. We're definitely right. It is easier to read it and talk about it than it is to hear it.
Than to listen to, yeah. So, of course, he, like, sits back in his chair and then she, like, ladles the soup, puts it in a bowl, and she's like, you love me? Of fucking course he does. He literally just said it. She needs a validation. I know, but he's like, yeah, he doesn't even say anything, he just nods.
I think when I initially read it, the voice, because when I read, I have voices in my head of what I think they sound like. So when I read the, like, you love me as, like, a confirmation, I read it as, like, almost like a more skeptical of, like, so you love me kind of thing, and then I hear it in audio, and I'm like, I'm overshot that.
No, I mean, I feel like I would have said it like that, too, because he didn't just, when he said loving you, he didn't say, like, I love you.
Right.
It wasn't very direct. It was just like, oh, I started falling in love with you, da-da-da.
So it's like, so you love me? And he's like, okay, eat.
So they're like, just make that clear.
Yeah.
Like, puts the bowl in front of him, and he scarfs that shit down, like, immediately. He's like...
He probably didn't eat his whole time flying up.
Oh, yeah. I bet he hasn't eaten since he got hurt.
He hasn't eaten for 5 days. He's been waiting for that meal
He's
thing.
been fasting. He's been fasting since then.
Honestly, though, Cassian probably, like, crammed food down his mouth.
I feel like it either was good or it was either one of those things where it's bland, but...
It's sustenance.
Welcome to the illustrious chapter, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time to eat.
It's time to just...
Well, he scarfed it down knowing that he was going to also have more food.
Welcome to the aftermath of hearing all that shit and then her being like, yep, let's go. No, we're ready now. No, we've been holding... This sexual tension has been building up since Calamai, of just this back and forth between them, and especially in this... Like, the inn was a little taste of it.
The inn was a bit of foreplay.
That was literally their entire foreplay. Now it's...
Which is why they have no foreplay here.
I mean, there's a little bit. But anyway, as we're getting into it, he's like, aren't you going to say anything?
Yeah, she's just standing there watching him eat.
I don't know if I'd be able to say anything. I would just show it through physical affection. Which she does, but he's like, she decided before he even said the story. She knew even before he said it. She just wanted to, like, hear it.
So when he's like, and now, like, when he questions, it's like, it makes it seem like he thought that her answer originally was going to be no, and that maybe she changed it with the story.
He said, like, which is what our quote was at the beginning, I want you to know that I'm broken and healing, but every piece of my heart belongs to you, and I'm honored to be your mate.
Honored to be your mate.
That's what he needed to hear. I mean, obviously it's genuine, but not just an I love you confession.
Or like, oh yeah, let's be mates.
Or like I like how she says she's broken and healing, because it's not saying, oh, I'm good now. It's
still a process.
I'm here, but all of who I am right now is yours.
Even all of her broken.
It's like, oh,
their broken parts can heal each other.
And he's so cute in this, because it's not like okay, so when you think of like a spicy scene, like you think that it's immediately he's gonna be like jumping her, but the thing is he nuzzles into her
because she came over and sat on his lap, which people are thinking like, oh, that's like gonna get spicy immediately. No, he just wraps his arms around her and buries his face in her shoulder and cries. Just like, oh, that's like real love right there.
Because he's just like fucking got excited there,
sobbing with relief.
He is relieved as hell, and it's like, she loves him. But the thing is, she says, oh, I'm with this war has come, like, I'm not going to let me get taken from them, but I'm also not going to let you get taken from me. Welcome, like, bitch.
They already tried to take you, and you saw how I react. That's not going to happen.
And then she kisses his tears away like he did for her under the mountain. Which Which, thinking back on it, when we read it the first time, it was like a little bit weird. But like now it's like, okay, remember that cringy thing you did? I'm gonna do it back to you, but it's gonna be a little bit more wholesome.
Right, because he was licking her.
Yeah.
Whereas now she's just
kissing his tears away. And then she says, "You're mine." All hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. Yeah, no, all hell breaks. But it's not like it's a hell breaks loose in the fact that he's like, he is shuddering with like, oh, we're doing this.
Raw emotion, but also, you know, he's kind of getting.
He's like, yeah. He said she said like he was poked her.
She's like, I felt him get hard underneath me.
It's like, all right, we're getting somewhere. This is gonna be great. I thought this was
emotional sex. Fuck yeah.
I thought this was only gonna be one sex scene, and then chapter 55 turned into like 3 separate sex scenes, 3 different sex scenes. Anyway,
they were fucking for 2 days.
Yeah, I know. If only.
Well, technically, a whole night.
Only, bro. Anyway, so obviously it starts with a very innocent kiss in terms of them just because they haven't really kissed much. The inn was the first time they kissed since Under the Mountain.
Yeah.
So like, you know, kissing makes sense.
First kiss.
But of course, when she groans in his mouth, like something like snaps for him, and then he like takes her over to where all those like paints on the table were.
Well, they're already sitting at the table. He just like lifts her up and sets her on the paint.
Yeah. So like fuck like whatever they were wearing, or it's not gonna be on.
Well, she was already covered in.
Yeah, it's fun, but now he's getting covered in paint too, and so obviously it gets a little bit more aggressive.
Spicy.
And she's like wrapping her legs around him and all that, and he's like kissing all the way down to like what's exposed, and then like we said last time, he is a tits man 100% because he immediately goes for them right away.
Especially, you remember the end scene? He's just like, I love these. Like he's just clearly showing them now.
I know, but he immediately goes up under her sweater and starts playing with her, and it's like, yeah. We know what man you are.
Yeah,
okay.
He likes both, but mostly tits.
You can linger on one. Yeah. But yes, it's like the very sexily, okay, I'm gonna take this off, but then wait to take pants off.
Right.
The fact that he's like surveying her though, because he didn't really get to see her the other night. Like this is the first time he's seeing her naked. He's like, she's beautiful. I love a good sex scene that's also like romantic. Yeah. Because you can have a steamy sex scene, but it also be hella romantic.
Yes.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No.
Like you can have both. So obviously, like, you know, she's plunging his fingers through her hair as he's like licking her tits. How do you say that? Like, how do you say that in like a not
coarse way?
Yeah. Sucking her nipple. Is that what? I feel like that's even weirder. Okay. Anyway, you get the picture. You get what we're trying to say. Is like what's happening.
Be appreciating her breasts.
He funniest as hell. He draws an arrow from her stomach, or sorry, from like in between her like breastbone down to her belly button. He's like, lest you forget where this is going.
It's like, oh, we're definitely gonna get down there tonight.
It's like,
I mean, she is sitting on a table, so
it's just like we love. Okay, this is foreplay. This is definitely just not as much.
It's just their version of their foreplay is like their like mental games that they play.
And you know, obviously, like they're teasing each other, and so he finally starts removing her pants, and she has to like sit up.
Yeah,
you know,
help.
Get it up. I like how it's like, okay, if you're gonna write a sex scene, write the practicality of it. Thank you. To not just be like, oh, the pants are off. Right. I want to know that they had to like hop her up a little bit just so that they could get the pants out from underneath her.
Yeah.
So then they're like away from each other for a bit. She's like, what did they say? Like barked in protest. And then he does the guy thing where he like takes her thighs and then like whoosh, scoots her forward.
Yeah. And she like gasps at it.
It's like, oh, okay. And then he kneels for her.
Kneeling on those beautiful tatted knees.
Tatted knees, I will bow before no one and nothing but my crown. And my equal.
And my mate as I eat her out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, let's just go right into it. Yeah, I mean, there's not really another way to say it.
Sorry, as I'm feasting on my mate. Is that any better?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this goes back to what your mom was saying in the first season of like, oh, I just want to be said. But I feel like feasting is way more vulgar than if it just says eating
feasting
somebody out.
Versus eating.
I mean, there's a different vulgarity to that.
I suppose so. Well, he's doing both.
So, yeah, he's definitely eating her out this whole time and remembering what he said to her the other night about what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, she comes twice. He makes her come twice.
She goes the first time and
And he just keeps going.
Just keeps going. We made a joke as we were listening to this, and we were, well, okay, you could say what you said, but I said he was going in for seconds.
Oh, it was about the meme that I saw. The meme that I saw of like a guy saying like, I can see your legs are shaking, but I'm sorry, my mother told me to always finish my meal.
We love dirty humor. And then I said the whole, oh, he was just going in for seconds comment. It's a good one. It's
he
good.
He was just hungry.
I feel like we do that so good when we're not on camera, and then we have to be like, oh, remember when we said this?
Like, oh, but now we have to try and say it again.
Right. This is why notes exist. But
why no?
But then he says, you're mine. It's like,
makes my ear tickle.
Hot as fuck. Dude, okay, shut the fuck up before I even say it. She says the immediate first thing, she's like, I wanted the wall. And I'm like,
I want the wall.
Okay, Pharaoh.
Okay.
Stop looking at me, bitch. I know we all want the wall, or some of us do, but you gotta do the first time in the bed with him because he's romantic like that. I don't feel like any of the other bat boys would care about where their first time was. Like, I feel like he does. So, I feel like, and even she doesn't to a certain extent. Like, she's like, yeah, I just want the wall. I want the wall now. And he's like, okay, where are we going? He picks her up, takes her to the bed. And so she's like sitting on the edge of it, right? And then he starts taking off his clothes. And
of course, without magic, so it's like slower.
Sexually taking them off. And she's just like looking at him, sees his powerful length, as what they say. And she's just like,
I'm gonna die tonight.
I just love how she says it. She's just like, oh yeah, I want that in me. Like,
no, not just one. I need that
in me now. Again, it's so much more romantic when you're reading it by yourself, but then like saying it out loud
makes it sound really coarse.
But at the same time, it's romantic. Okay, that part is. I mean, like the idea of like wanting someone full body.
It's like, oh, I need him inside me.
But she wants to like, you know, go down on him, but he's like, or no, well, she touches his wing because he has them out. So this is the first time he's ever had them out while having sex with someone. And I just imagine her sitting like that, and then her being like really quick, like up to his wing, like, okay, I'm gonna touch it like slightly. And then
I'm gonna touch the butt.
Yeah. And then he's just like, play later. And then immediately
he starts playing around.
Yeah, so then he's like at the tip of her entrance, and then he's like fucking with her, and then she's just like, play later. Like,
I have a lot more course and like, come on, you fucking bastard.
A lot more course and just like, okay, please God, we've been waiting how many months for this? How many years have you been waiting for this? Let's just do it.
Come on, we just gotta.
So yeah, but he says, say it again. He says, say you're mine again, and then she says it, and then he goes inside her. It's so sweet. That's like the romantic part that I'm just like, oh. But then you just hear the like, then it's like, oh, faster, deeper. Okay, yeah. Like
now we're getting into it.
Now we're getting into the spice. So it's like, you have romance, but also you can have spice. But then, like, remember when we talked about the mating bond beforehand, usually the first time sex, like it's usually that's when the bond snaps fully. So now she feels it. Now she knows what it feels like. It is like an unbreakable chain between them, and she can see it and feel it
and smell it.
And she just keeps saying, you're mine, and then, but it's what she says. She says, my friend, my lover, part of my family, like, oh, my mate, who waited for me against all hope despite all odds, my lover who had healed my broken and weary soul, and my friend through many dangers.
Kind of calling back to Starfall.
Very much so. I feel like she was in love with him. Like, I know they say this later, but I feel like she was in love with him. I feel like Starfall, she kind of knew. I think it was Adriana.
I think so. When she got jealous of her Crusader.
And I think it was that night that they were talking, and that the whole, stars who listen.
I think so.
I feel like that's when if I'm looking at it, yeah.
I think so.
And obviously he fell in love with her on Calamai.
Oh yeah, he fell in love with her before Calamai.
But he also had like 3 years to get to like feel like that he loved her. But also he's saying that he didn't like know he fully loved. He picked the knife. But anyway, regardless. Anyway, so yeah, back to the sex.
Back to the sex.
So yes, obviously. What is his name? Oh, he says, so just before like she comes again, he says, I love you. And she's like, her undoing, bro. Her undoing. I love you. Because he's specifically saying it.
Like, I love you. Oh.
And then their scents merged. So this is how other people in the Fae culture can know that they're mates without knowing. It's their scent. You can just tell, like, for their scent that they're mated, because their scents intertwine. We were the beginning and middle and end. We were a song that had been sung from the very first ember of the light in this world. And of course, then he comes, and outside the mountainside trembled. The remaining snow rushed from them, and he literally caused an avalanche. Good thing nobody lived up there. Imagine nobody so this is why we call it the fucking cabin, because they get avalanches all the time. He did say he wanted to come so hard that the mountains shook. What are you trying to say?
Well, just, avalanches, a lot of white snow coming down there.
True.
Something symbolic there.
My God. And then, of course, the panting aftermath of like, oh, wow, we did. And then I let the mating bond shine clear and luminous between us. I just love how they're lazily sitting there. I mean, obviously, they have more rounds later, as we know, but immediately after this one, there isn't like an immediate after one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my God.
They let themselves like think about it.
Did that.
And spend that aftercare almost with each other.
And he's like, he says, I fell in love with you when I picked up the knife.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh. He said, or the moment you flipped me off for mocking you. He said it reminded him so much of Cassian and his spirit.
You fell in love with me because I reminded you of your friend?
He's like, jackass, it's because you were one of us. What a good answer to that.
Like, is there something you're not telling us about your relationship with your friend?
Maybe they have, you don't know. But you decided to throw the piece of bone at Amarantha like a jab. I felt Cassian's spirit beside me in that moment. I could have sworn him say, if you don't marry her, you stupid prick, I will. Sounds like something he would say.
Yeah.
It makes sense why I feel like he likes Nesta then. Because I feel like if he liked Feyre so much in that regard as a friend, he's gonna like somebody with the same sort of spirit.
Or feisty.
Yeah, definitely.
We also know how much Cassian loves his wife.
True. Whenever somebody thought like that, like Cassian was a contender, I was like, first of all, no. She's not feisty enough for him.
He needs someone who will challenge him on literally everything.
And who does that sound like?
A weapon.
Dude, I kind of think that he tried to, I think he tried to fuck Amryn at some point because of how feisty she is.
Oh,
I bet you money he's tried. And of course she...
I mean, well, yeah, but if you remember like early dinner scene where it's like, no one warming your bed, Cassie? And they're like, well, I'm always tangled in the sheets with you, Amryn.
He's been trying to fuck Amryn this whole time, but, he knows that that's never gonna happen. And so obviously, so he takes her into the bath. Again, like I fucking thought, takes her into the bath and they like are in there. It's like, good thing it's big enough for two. Yeah,
and can fit Illyrian wings. Especially these ones that are covered in paint.
Yeah, she got paint, like handprints on his wings from touching them.
Imagine he's like, I never want to wash these off.
Hilarious. He'd get laughed at so hard.
He would.
But he'd be proud of them.
He would.
So yeah, I also, okay, maybe this is just us, but I feel like I love this aftercare. Like this is just a full thing of after.
Good sex and then after.
Because
Fuck yeah.
Because she's cleaning his wing in a very sensual way. Like, obviously, it's not overtly sexual,
like,
but...
Someone got my wings dirty.
She does the whole motion, like, turn around. It's, like, I love that. Because again, they're so sensitive that even trying to, like, wash them, he's like getting hard again.
She looks over her shoulder to see her affected. She's like, "Oh, the wingspan thing is."
Yeah, the wingspan thing is real, and he bursts out laughing. He's like, "Yeah,
Taz is still the biggest."
Apparently, we haven't gotten the ruler out, but
Sarah, get the ruler out.
But then she confesses, "I fell in love with you at Starfall, or came close to knowing was too scared." I love how she immediately goes, "I was a coward for not saying anything," and then he was like, "You had your reasons." Then we were both like, "No,"
and then she was like, no.
She's like, no, you're just giving me the benefit of the doubt because you love. No, I was stupid. But now we're not,
Now we're not.
I was never afraid of the consequences of being with you. Even if every assassin in the world hunts us, it's worth it. You are worth it. And he just says thank you to that. He doesn't even know what to say.
It's like, you're worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. She says, what now? Which is very vague. Very vague.
I love how he's immediately not thinking about anything else. He's just thinking about her.
She is the utmost of importance to him. So he basically gives her a couple of options for their relationship where that's concerned. So they can go in front of a priestess and he says specifically, not anybody like Ianthe, or in that cohort of 12 priestesses or whoever that was. And they can be declared officially mated. Because they are officially mated, but like that would be more of a public showing. They can also at the same time be deemed husband and wife.
If we wanted some more mortal type names.
Which is so fucking cute though. Because he brings up... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Husband Reese and wife Feyre.
Oh, wow. Like, that's quick, but also, again, remember, in this world, mates are above husband-wife.
Right.
So that would be
just... of helpful information that Tamlin gave us.
That would just be more of a how do I say, a formality to be called husband and wife. Mates are more powerful than that.
Although he's just like, I would actually really love calling you my wife.
Yeah, because she asked, like, what are we supposed to call each other? And he's like, well, I'm going to call you,
but
calling you my wife. But he also said that they could, like, host host a party, which, I mean, they're both like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna have like a big mating party. Yeah. I mean, literally at their own party up at the House of Wind for Starfall, they like left and were just by themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, they came back for the rest of the night, but
they were gone for a bit.
But he's like, or we could do none of those things. We're mated whether people know about it or not. And then she's just like, well, I mean, I was talking about Durian, the Queens, and Hybern, but I mean...
Glad to know I have so many options open for our relationship.
He's like, oh.
Well, I got answers for that too.
Yeah, because she's like, I have you completely wrapped around my finger. Yes, you do.
That's been that way for a while.
And he says that she's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen.
I need a resand.
Oh my god, that's so sweet. Because again, let's remember, okay, I didn't even write this in my notes, but I want to reiterate this. Remember, like, Resand is the most beautiful guy. I mean, obviously most beautiful to her standards, but like...
the most beautiful guy, male.
Like, he is amazing looking. Imagine somebody who's like very self-deprecating, who's very self-deprecating to the sense of like, she never thought she'd be with really anyone, let alone somebody who was so like attractive, but also not just attractive in that way, attractive romantically, mentally, emotionally stable. He's just like, no, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever. After all of his 500, this is when I have a problem with people talking about an age gap, because I feel like it's special. Obviously, age gap doesn't matter. She's immortal. The reason I think the whole 500 years thing is sweet is because out of all of his 500 years, somehow this one girl is the most beautiful woman he's ever run across. And he's run across a lot.
He's been with a lot, probably.
Warriors, people who she would compare herself to that wouldn't be as beautiful, but somehow he thinks that she's the most beautiful one.
That's when you know it's true love.
So that's why I think when people talk about like him being 500 years old, I think it's actually sweet because it's like he has seen a lot of other things, but he wants and loves and wants to be heard. Stop. Too much goodness. So anyway, yes. So talking again. Oh yeah, just subtly. Yeah, the Queens wrote back, by the way.
Say what now? Why are we still here?
We're going to the sister's estate tomorrow. Why didn't you tell me? He's like, I got sidetracked. Oh my god. But yes, they have a future. But then here's the thing, and not that I was surprised about. I mean, not shocked, but I was surprised about. He like looks at her in awe, and she doesn't really know, and then she's glowing. She's glowing with happiness, legit glowing.
She's like a little flashlight.
And he's like, well, now I can literally gloat and say I make my mate shine and glow with happiness. Oh. So immediately he takes her out. She's sitting on his lap at this point, like as they're describing it, and he's like, well, he could be in me right now. And then she thought that he was going to, and then he takes her back to the bed. I don't think he wanted this time to be like, he wanted all of this to be making love. That's why he took her back to the bed. But he also couldn't do the position he wanted to do in there. So
that would have been dangerous.
It makes sense. I love how he like, she's laying out on the bed. He's looking at her and she's like, is this the day court? He's like, I don't.
Although that I will say, in the midst of all this wonderful heat, if we think about it, like, although she didn't directly mention the High Lord of Day, she still, is mentioning other courts and stuff. When she did that with Tamlin is like, I don't want to hear another male's name on your lips.
I mean, obviously, yeah, he didn't say name, but yeah.
Like, it's kind of like the same idea of like, they were talking about powers then. Tamlin's like, I don't care, like, shut up and like, let me fuck you kind of vibe. Versus here, Reese is just like, I don't really care, but I'm also not putting you down for it. Like, I'm not putting them down either.
And I think it was more so like, it's hers. I think he said it because I don't care whose it is. It's
yours. You're glowing.
It's you.
You're glowing because of something I did. That's not anything related to where it came from.
But then it's the fact that he lets his glamour down and she sees all of him, and this is like the final test of will she accept all of me? Because he's just covered in shadow, mist, kind of how it's described in the dream.
He's just like pure shadow, pure
darkness. It's beautiful. It's similar situation to when Tamlin let his glamour down, but it's different because
he's prettier.
Well, that, but also, he's also fully naked and standing before her, and it's like he is literally showing everything.
And he has darkness and tattoos.
To her. Again, Yes, we understand.
Clearly
I'm saying he's like the metaphor of standing there waiting to be judged one last time about whether or not she was, even now, even after they officially mated, she accepted everything. He needed one more validation, and this is it. And this making love scene is that.
And then as it goes,
yeah, so she brings him down and she like pins him on the other side of the bed, and he's like, he was jolted, but he was a little bit excited.
His wings jostling in slight discomfort.
It's like Illyrian baby. And then, dude, Feyre, okay, I know some people give like Feyre a bad rap for not being like, dude, I feel like she was more ravenous than he was.
She was hungry.
No, because she starts sucking him off
he
hard.
Already ate. He already had some soup. He had some other meals.
She's playing with his dick though, like before she even like puts it in her mouth, and then he's just like, shit.
Like, shit, Feyre.
This human, or this turned human, knows how to suck a dick really well.
He like reaches forward, and she's had some experience.
Ew, Isaac.
Ew, Tamlin. But no, he reaches forward and she just gives him a look of like,
It's I wonder, I don't think she ever sucked Tamlin's dick. At least from like our perspective, we've never seen that.
I don't think so.
I feel like that's a different vulnerability, wouldn't you say? Because he's gone down on her, but she's never gone down on him.
And we don't know what really happened with Isaac.
Yeah, we know they just rutted and that's about it. So I feel like it'd be kind of funny if this was her first time doing it, right? And then she's like being like, I feel like at that point you could just touch a dude's, like in this scenario, like she could have just touched it and he'd be on fire.
That's true. He is also very much like even more sensitive because them being made, and also because he loves her.
And she's beautiful.
So I think anything related to that is gonna contribute to the shit Feyre.
He didn't even let her finish though. He was like, just like, nope, you're getting turned around. And then he was like inside her again.
Yep. And she's like, damn it.
Because she's okay.
Damn it.
The position in this matters though, because like, so not yet. So she's in doggy, I think. She's doggy right now, and then it turns to where, I mean, I was gonna say where Liesl knows these positions very well.
I just exposed myself.
Yeah, dude, that was not even me. You called yourself out hard with that one. I'm keeping it.
Fuck.
It's vulnerable because she's on top. That's what I was gonna say. I wasn't gonna say the position, but it was because she's on top.
Started with doggy. Well, so I thought you were gonna continue.
It's universal. Okay, whatever. So she's on top and facing him, and obviously this is because we both had the same thought. Mm-hmm. This was the position that Amarantha probably had him in all the time.
Because Amarantha would want to dominate him.
Prove to him that she was fucking, not the other way around.
And so Rhys wanted to have this, and Feyre realizes it. Like, Rhys wanted to be in this vulnerable position again, where he's had so much trauma, but like have it with someone that he loves and who knows, like, loves him back.
And he shudders too at first. He's like,
oh. It's a huge step for him as well.
Because again, he hasn't been with anybody since Amarantha.
Right.
So, sweet boy.
Goes back to that one when they were hanging at the bar and Az and Feyre were talking about who was gonna go out. And Feyre's just like, oh yeah, he's like refused everyone who's asked him out.
I wonder why. But he could have been one of those assholes, and so I feel like this is what's different about Sarah J Maas versus another fantasy author, because sometimes they have like the guy be an asshole. Like in turn, not an asshole, but they'll just like, they'll be flirting with other women. He's never flirted with another woman in front of her. Not in a way. Okay, Cressida was its own fucking...
That was for a mission.
That was for a mission, and also like it was very clear what was going on there, but like obviously she was insecure. But again, in a lot of other... I don't know if like you guys have read like Blood and Ash, or if you guys have read, it's called like First Prince or whatever. I've never read that book series. The guys are kind of assholes, like in terms of when it comes to that. Like they'll do that to piss the other girl off.
100%.
Versus like Rhys, this is the difference between SJM's lovers.
Or Rhys is just loyal.
Well, Rhys is also loyal, but he can be aggressive about it, but he's never gonna like just do that for kicks. Because he knows he has the trauma of knowing what that is.
Yeah.
So obviously she kisses him, makes it, good for him, and then glows brighter for him as she's riding him.
The star lighting up his night.
Mm-hmm. And I love how like as they come together, because they do it at the same time, he's just like, we're gonna have to put a damper on that light because
I plan on making you the happiest female ever.
That's so sweet. He's like, I want you. You have no idea how many things I've thought when it comes up to you. She brings up the wall again. I'm like, are you literally trying
She's like, well, I think I was promised a wall seat.
Are you trying to kill me? Why is SGM calling me out specifically? Because I feel like her and her protagonist have a thing playing with walls. Specifically, Feyre.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Feyre does like a wall. I was promised a wall.
He's like, next time, Feyre, I'll fuck you against a wall. It's like, okay, because in that moment, it'll actually...
And then she's like, and make the pictures fall.
Yeah, make the pictures fall out, Bryn. Like, he's like, well, show me what that wicked mouth can do. It's like, okay, now they finish. But we fade to black there. Fade to black during the best time. No.
Because they probably kept going.
Well, yeah, because, so then it fast forwards to, well, it's wrong to compare, but Tamlin could not even. Rhysand is so much better. Rhysand was ravenous. She got a total of 1 hour of sleep.
Before they were fucking again.
If only. Realizing my parents listen to these. It's okay, we're doing it for entertainment. But this is what we talk about when we talk. Now they're understanding what we talk about when we talk about these.
True.
Oh yeah, Tabi and Liesl are having their book club. Yeah, it's so great. You know,
it's so
literature.
They're talking about books together.
Just like Rhysand was ravenous.
They fucked all night.
Hey, if anything, they should be proud that we're talking about sex in a good-natured way.
Yes.
To where it's like in a good literature.
Sex is healthy
in a
when
good,
done right.
Anyway, so yeah, I love how she's like, well, any High Lord could keep a woman all night. It's like,
and actually please her though.
I don't think Baron could. Sorry, bring him up. Maybe in his youth, but no, goddamn, ew.
Well, somehow she had 7 children.
But yeah, she couldn't. So apparently, Rhys makes it clear that this is very much like a mating bond frenzy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's them. Like they love each other and they want to have sex, but it's very much like a primal. Again, he said it like went back to when the man wanted to impregnate the woman.
Right. They fucked so much so that they could ensure the breeding.
Mm-hmm. Which pour some cold water over them. Like anytime somebody brings up pregnancy when they're talking about when they've had sex, they're just like, hey, I'm not.
Yeah. She's like, so about the pregnancy.
But before that,
yes.
I just wanted to say, so when a couple accepts the bond, it's overwhelming. So especially for the man, because the man just gets like super extraterritorial. Rhys has been territorial, but only really to Devlin or to people outside the inner circle. And so he said to give him time because he says that he's, he's like an educated, reserved man, but this is going to throw a curveball into that.
He said that he's seen a bunch of educated males go like absolutely crazy.
For somebody just looking at their mate in a way. Yeah. Wild. Okay, I don't want like any come after me. I'm not saying that I want somebody who like wants to beat up a guy just looking at me on the street, but there's a level of cuteness to this principle of somebody loving somebody so much that even like a passing glance could be just she's my wife, she's mine. I like this claiming idea, and maybe that makes me a different woman, but I like that idea because I think a mutual claiming is good. But anyway, yes, moving on to what Liesl said. It's like, yeah, about the pregnancy. I'm not taking a tonic, by the way. So apparently if she takes the tonic today or like whatever, it'll negate everything that they've done in like the last 24 hours, which
wow, that's some pretty strong tonic.
It's the morning after pill basically for them.
Pretty much.
Or it's usually in a Regency it's like a tea.
Right.
Morning after tea. Yeah. But she's like, oh, because I'm a High Lord's mate, I'm expect to have offspring because there's supposed to be an heir, right?
Because that's what Tamlin said.
You are not expected to bear me anything. We're only having kids if we both want it.
You only get pregnant if you want children.
Yeah, he said her at first, but then he was like, yeah, if we both want.
Which is good that he's including himself in that.
Yeah, because it takes 2 to tango.
Takes 2 to make them.
But he brings up a good point though, like, because we're kind of forgetting we're gonna be in the middle of a war, seemingly. So like, having her pregnant would be the most terrible decision. Not just because of her safety and the babe's safe, but it would be him. Like, he'd be volatile toward everybody.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. Well, I'm gonna start taking it today. But he said I would be happy beyond reason if you one day did honor me with children. To share that with me.
Or if he got her all to himself for the rest of eternity.
That'd be fine too. I like this idea, and I think this is SJM coming in here a little bit with the idea of it. It's okay if you don't want kids. Yeah. Like if you just want to live in a perpetual state of marriage, and or maybe not even get married, but live in a perpetual dating sense. If y'all are both happy and you're both like living life and how you want it, then that's great. You don't need kids to feel satisfied in a life. I feel like that was like during our parents' generation.
Yeah.
Our parents' generation was like so obsessed with having kids, and now it's like nobody wants to have kids in our generation. No. It's like, there's too many.
Adopt.
I mean, yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But yes, but basically what she says is how I agree. Like right now, if I'm like at a point in life, I'd want to just be with, I mean, again, not that you guys care about the idea of, I would want to live and be married. Because some people think when they get married that they got to have a kid right away. I would want to live in married life for a little while than for having. Because I couldn't have one like right afterward. I'd want to, again, boyfriend and girlfriend is one thing, but also being married is another.
Getting married is like taking another step in your relationship. And so it's like, while it may be with someone, like say you've been dating for like 6 years or something, there is something that's innately going to change.
The dynamic's going to shift, but you don't want another dynamic to then shift because, again, a kid's a lifetime commitment. I mean, legally after 8.
That's like trying to jump 2 rungs up a ladder.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's just, I mean, again, I guess we're on the same boat with that. That's like personally what we believe, but again,
it's up to everyone and how they
y'all are both consenting adults. You want to have a kid when you're like in your 20s and you guys have been together and you want it and you have the financial ability to, like,
go for it.
Go for it. Life lessons from Liesl and Tabitha.
The 2 single people. We the single Pringles. We
honestly,
give life advice.
Honestly, I think it's because we've seen so many terrible relationships that we're just like, yeah, we know what not to do.
True.
We know what not to do, so we didn't. But we don't know what's a good one. So we're like Pharaoh. We're just, wait, do you love? Yes, you motherfucker. Yes.
Yes, that is the whole point.
But yeah, obviously, she's about to like, she's kind of like backing away, trying to go. She's like, God, I smell like him. She's gonna smell like him all the time.
Oh yeah.
But he gets up really quickly, swiftly takes her to the tub, and then they make love in it again, and then they go back to the Illyrian camp. This is funny as shit. So they finally leave the cabin. We're finally leaving the cabin after 4 chapters, I think.
Yeah.
And so we winnow directly to the Illyrian camp, hand in hand. And guess who's the first person we run into? Cassian outside of Reese's mom's house.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's about time. And Reese like immediately growls at him and snarls.
Grr.
And Farrah's like, holy shit, he was right about this. He literally warned you.
Yeah.
But also,
he can't control it.
Props to Reese. Cassian, of course, is an attractive male. But also remember, if we think about it, Cassian's also a volatile person to do this because remember there was that whole thing where Cassian was protecting her and then he's just, I bet he wants to fuck you. Or it was when they were in the woods before going to the Weaver and he's like, I bet he's more interested in fucking you than talking to you or something. And she's just like, well, tell him to come to my room. So there was a little bit of jealousy there, but it's also because they're all hot Illyrians.
I love though that while this conversation is going, Cass knows what he's doing, and so he just casually puts his hair up as he does this.
Well, he's just like, wow, mating bond shaving him?
Just like, oh, this will be like interesting, so let's maybe she could give me a ride.
Yeah, he's just like, well, then he first of all he says hard ride, and then he's just like, oh, Feyre doesn't look too tired maybe, and then he like bursts at him, but they're children playing, they're back to like you said,
they're wrestling in the mud, but also like punching kind of wrestling.
Oh, but yeah, they're definitely fighting, but like it's like
I love that all of the Illyrians like picked up the women and children and flew in.
Oh yeah, immediately smelled Reese and was just like, oh nope, gotta get the fuck out of here.
I mean, it's already bad enough like to have like protective male, but this is their high lord.
This is a mated, powerful male about to fuck some guy's day up. But the thing is, it's funny that they both got bruised. Cassian was just laughing the whole time that they were ready.
It probably reminded him of their childhood.
Of him beating him the fuck up and whatever. So Feyre's just watching this, and then Moore opens the door, and she's like, they'll be at it a while.
Come on in.
She's like, welcome to the family, Feyre.
Aww.
I mean, I feel like they indoctrinated her even at that first dinner, but this is like the official.
Because she's now accepted the mating bond.
You are one of us.
One of us.
But you also accept us as we are. Yeah. She does, I don't want to like brush past it, but I love how when she brings up about how long it'll take Reese to, if it takes a normal male like a week to quote unquote get over this mating bond frenzy, I don't think Reese would ever. I think it's because they love each other so much that, I mean, obviously he's not going to be as volatile towards like Cassian or as after this frenzy.
But anyone outside the inner circle, they're dead.
No, he's gonna, missed it immediately. Even if looking at her in a wrong way. I mean, I don't think he's that. But I love how, like, Moore and her are just sitting in the house until they come back in. She sees Reese sees her. Cassie and Moore immediately leave the premise.
They just leave.
I think they're just standing outside outside. Like, I think we were talking about that. I think they're just standing outside.
And this one isn't just making love. This is like a fuck.
No.
Fucking her over the table.
Fucking her. Dude, this is a 50 Shades of Grey moment where he fucked her on the pool table. This is like that. He literally turns her around, takes her pants off. He like puts his pants down. Mm-hmm. It's not even a complete pants off.
Yeah.
Fucks her.
It's a quickie.
Gets it out. And then like Cassian raps on the door like, okay, let's go now.
And like on top of that, like it mentions that like, oh yeah, like Favor was moaning Rhys's name so loud that the Illyrians still in the sky could hear her. So if Cassian and Moore are just outside the door,
I feel like they're just going like, ugh, mates. Because of that, again, we have to remember that they're fae and that they like have sex. Like Calanmai is literally just a big orgy. True. So I feel like to them it doesn't even matter.
But at the same time, I also feel like they're like, hey, look, he's finally getting it.
It's good, but also at the same time, Cassian's just like, I feel like, okay, this is not canon, but I feel like he looked more like, you wanna? She's like, no.
She slaps him back of the head.
Just like, you idiots. So I think this is one of my, even though this is like the real, like the last end of, we're ending on an epic note because I wanted this to be just the cabin because it takes us a long time to just talk about this. But so as they get back to Valaris, back to Amren and Azriel, they walk hand in hand into the sitting room and they all collectively get up and all collectively bow to her.
Ooh.
She's not even a lady yet. She's literally just, well, again, she's the mate of the High Lord, so I guess that
in a way
already puts her at a lady status. It's Amren who says it. Yeah. We will serve and protect. There's a level above, like, I know how she says it. She's just like, well, I just want you to be my friends before anything else. But now there's a level of respect.
And Moore's just like, oh, we will, but we're also gonna serve.
How it is with Rhys.
Yeah.
We can talk shit to him, but there's a level of we're gonna follow what he says. Yeah. Even if we might not always. But they're sitting down to eat and then he's like, Rhys is like, yeah, God, I'm starving. And Amren's like,
do not say what you were just going to say.
Shut up.
You didn't mean.
Yeah. No, me to you this whole time we were listening to this. I was like, shut up. If you say anything more about that goddamn wall thing, I will like, I know it's true. I know it is. Stop bringing it up.
Man, I'm starving. Do not finish what you were just about to say.
He's like, unless you want to have it on the roof. He's even like threatening her to fight. Okay. She literally just rolls her eyes at that.
She's like,
then she says, because we haven't seen Amren, we also haven't seen Az, but we haven't seen Amren in a little while. And so she's like, I heard you grew fangs in the woods and killed some people. Good girl.
Good girl.
And I love this dynamic
it's between. Like, Rhys got into some trouble.
I love it's like the three girls and now the three guys. Kind of like this perfect dynamic. And then Moore's like, she saved his sorry ass is more like it. And then she chimes in and says he needs coddling from time to time. And then Azriel chokes on his wine.
And then, of course.
And then she even looks at him. She looks at him for one moment, smiles.
And she looks at him, smiles, and sees the warmth that's in Az's eyes. So that's also cute, maybe, because I mean, yeah. Like on top of that, then immediately she feels Rhys like standing ominously behind her, just like glaring.
He's glaring at Azriel like she's mine. He knows.
Feyre just looks over at him and he like looks apologetically.
Oh, the High Fae and their primal instincts. So we end at Moore has the orb. They're going over to the queens so that they can get the second part of the book of breathings from them. Amren's staying put this end of this book because we only have 2 more main episodes in terms of like actual content.
That's insane.
So this is the end of the book. Like obviously this was like the main crux of the romance, but holy shit. I wanted to end it on this epic note because I mean obviously the next thing is the queens and we already went through so much. So anyway, we'll be excited to look through that part, but that's the end of the main deep dive section.
So yes, now that we've finished doing our deep dive, welcome to Tally's Corner. We're going to start talking about the graphic audio, and I actually am excited for this part also. I mean, I usually am, but like, especially because we literally just...
I wanted to, because I mean, I've listened to this graphic audio so many fucking times, but especially this section, girl. This is like, I don't want to spend like an enormous amount of time on it. I want us to hit the points because we've already went through the content.
Yeah.
But good God. So starting at the beginning. So this is where I started my notes back at chapter 52.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, maybe this is like the actor in me, anybody doing like a really long monologue where there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
Props to Melody Muse for doing that so well and making it not boring. Like, because there's a lot of discovering, but there's also a lot of back and forth between your emotions.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do in a monologue, especially when you're monologuing a fucking
yeah.
Because literally
when you're narrating,
that first chapter is just her. There's no dialogue. So I just want to say that overall for her. And then especially with this, specific section, all these chapters, 52 to 56, the music choices were so beautiful.
Stunning.
And especially during this, like, I love the painting music montage of just, it's very happy-go-lucky, like, the music changes from this very solemn, I don't know, to a very, like, when she's going around looking for stuff in the house, this very happy, jovial music.
Because it's like, it almost feels like she's, well, like we said earlier, like, kind of coming out of this slump, basically, and then once she finally, like, starts painting, finally, again, like, after not painting for, well, since For Under the Mountain,
right,
it kind of is like, oh, we're kind of, like, coming out of this slump, but kind of happier.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I feel like that's, like, the director that we love, like, Colleen Delaney, who does the directing for this, or whoever made the sound choice. I dig all of it.
Yes.
And I think, specifically, I don't bring her up a lot, but Moore's voice during this part,
very well.
Well done. I love her voice. I also want to highlight, there's this woman on TikTok who does Morrigan cosplay.
Lip sync to the graphic audio.
Perfect. I think it's like Morrigan Day or something. I think that's her handle. I'm not very sure, but I mean, obviously it's contacts and a wig, but she looks like more.
Her facial structure.
Her smile, perfect.
Her acting with it as well. Honestly, we could probably just link it.
Yeah, when I find it. Wow, that was like, I think Moore's graphic audio voice shined a little bit in this more.
Yeah.
Because it showed a little bit more range. I mean, obviously she's been emotional, but this level of, is it really so bad? But also this level of when she talks about the eyes with me and Amryn staring at them, like the boys and everything. There was this level of, I loved the acting voice.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously chapter 53, like, I'm not saying there's nothing special that happens in the graphic. I mean, it's mostly just a lot more music choices because, again, it's a lot more monologuing, which, again, props to Melody to be able to keep me entertained whilst...
Right.
And again, I'm somebody who is a seasoned SJM ACOTAR fan. And even though I love the book, you can easily skim this part of the book, but she makes me want to, like, I think I added more note because of her narration in terms of things that I didn't pick up before because I was just kind of racing through it.
Right.
Chapter 54, man. I could... God damn you, Anthony. God...
Oh, she's coming for you, Anthony.
What's so funny is that, again, she hadn't listened to this part before she met him. So, Anthony Palmini, this is directly to you. This made me full-on tear up when I first read this book. And I don't usually do that. I mean, out of all the two, you are definitely way more emotional than me, but I'm not I don't usually do that. Not because I'm heartless, but it's more like, you have to really get me going and move me specifically for me to understand. So, first of all, just the intro of when he comes in and the boyish line. I feel like he did such a good job of acting range during this whole time between seriousness, emotion. He should get an Oscar just for this fucking monologue in terms of how much range is in it.
I agree.
There's anger, there's like sadness, there's
fear,
there's this level of happiness, but also of boyishness, nature,
and, disbelief.
Difference between adult Reese and boyish Reese, because when she says, so at the top of chapter 55, when like the whole suit thing is happening, he says, "You'd make me food?" Like a little boy. Yeah. And he's just like so in awe because he knows what that means, but she doesn't. And it's so fucking sweet. That was one moment that I audibly gasped. So I wanted to bring that up specifically.
He did sound very small during that.
Also the whole music under the monologue, and also with it changing, the music changing between going from the, you know, the war past to the them up at the mountain cabin to them then with Under the Mountain with Amarantha to then this very hopeful music when Feyre's plot comes in. It went with the dialogue so much.
It did.
I can't believe he only did this in like 2 to 3 takes.
That's insane.
What the fuck?
Insanely talented.
Insanely talented. Made me move to like, he's Rhysand. He is Rhysand. I mean, obviously Anthony is not Rhysand. The voice actor is not the character, but the voice matched perfectly of what I thought this monologue would be.
Yes.
When he starts talking about her memories specifically, when he starts bringing up, he's like the awe in his voice at Painter's hands, and there was, you know, so much light in the world, and
there was happiness somewhere.
It was beautiful. The one that got us. So when we were re-listening to this, the one that got us because again, the "there you are, I've been looking for you," that moment in the graphic audio hit so much more because there was this kind of
there was a reverb and echo behind it.
transition to hearing it in the past, because they take the audio from the first book and they use it, but there's also this whole, it's almost like we're going into Feyre's mind, seeing the memory, this level of, I'm going into it and now I'm seeing it in a different way.
Yeah.
Dude, it made me like squeal out loud the first time I read it, and then it made us have to rewind because it was like, it was such a good moment.
That's what made the tears start falling. Like they were building up, vision was getting blurry, and then that's what made him fall.
Because it was so genuine boyish of, there you are, I've been looking for you. He's like, thank you for finding her for me.
I'm going to fuck you guys up later.
Yeah. And also his anger. The anger there too.
Saw those filthy...
or he says Picts? I was a little bit confused.
Picts used to be an Irish people. It has become a term of insult as if these people were uncivilized.
Yeah, that makes sense. The part that got me in the monologue, I think, was specifically when he said, and then you died, and I heard your neck snap. Even reiterating it again, he sounded like he was in disbelief.
Yeah, like he couldn't believe.
And like even you brought up before when he says about and he sounds so raw and emotional when he says, this beautiful thing that was brought into my life was now gone, bro. It's like, Anthony.
Like, damn, dude.
We were all in tears at that point. No, I did tear up like the whole time I was reading this or listening to the graphic. So then obviously it's like, I said in my notes, I am unwell.
I am unwell.
And so obviously, I mean, I feel like that was the main crux. And then it wasn't until the chapter 55 at the beginning. I mean, obviously we'll get into the sex in a second, but it was the very rawness of him being like, well, do you have anything to say? And even Melody, the Feyre line of, I'm broken and healing, but all of what I am is yours. It was such a good response, but also a strong response.
It is.
If you think about it, because you'd think that it'd be kind of timid. No, Melody was strong, and I like that choice, because now it's like, no, she knows.
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts to know that you're broken, but also that you're healing. It takes another type of strength. And then on top of all that, like, offer up what you have.
Which might not be much, but to them is like, everything.
Right.
So obviously, like, the beginning of that was really beautiful. And the hearing him eat the fucking food, hearing like the bowl clatter and whatever. But then we could go into like full-blown detail about like all of the sexual moments in chapter 55. I think the whole thing with we could go into like full-blown detail, but I don't want to be here all night because we could. So if you want to hear us like go specifically into more of the specifics on the graphic, let us know. But I think overall, as somebody who has done like sex scenes on stage before and had to like make sounds like that, especially with them not being in the room and not being on Discord or anything, and just going off of like each other's audio that they sent in, it sounded so like they were in the same room together, or at least in some regard were on the same call.
Yeah, that was insane.
I know that's like a sign of editing, but also, and I know when we interviewed them that they were like, well, it's an intimacy scene, any intimacy scene. And I'm like, at least to me, I think it's hard in a certain way. I get when they mean you can be alone in the booth together, but like you just got to make that noise out of nowhere. There's a level of build up and work to get to that.
So I feel like sometimes it is easier to make that sound on your own because no one else is like watching.
I guess. I think for me, I feel like I just have to have some sort of direction. They do have direction on those sets, but I think the idea of just doing it and going all in, I was proud of that. I was happy that it wasn't kind of like this half-assed, okay, we're gonna kind of do the moaning. Like, no, they do it.
Right.
They do it. You even said the kisses on the thigh when he like kisses her thigh or whatever before he like goes down on her. Ooh, they even get that in there. And obviously the whole, it doesn't get graphic to the point where like you can hear him licking her.
No.
It's more of like he's doing it and then her moaning. Yeah. And then, and it's because like I feel like when people think graphic, they're like, oh, can like I hear a slurp or something? It's like, no.
She's not that wet.
No. Sorry, that's not what I thought you were going to say. I was like, oh, it's not that graphic. It's like, no, she's not that wet. But anyway, okay. And I think another part that really, obviously all the romantic parts were just, the bathtub where she cleans him, hearing him shudder.
Hearing the bed
hearing the bed sheets move when they're having sex. And the paint too.
Yeah.
You heard the paint as well. So they went to the bathtub and then they had sex glowing. I don't really think you could hear that.
No.
But there was you heard him when he took his glamour off. That was a cool moment of hearing this kind of ooh, like sound. And then obviously whenever they talk, I think just Melody and Anthony are good actors.
Yes.
So like I could pick apart every acting choice that they had, but I feel like those ones stood out the most to me in terms of what they said. And especially at the end there where he's talking about pregnancy in chapter 55 specifically, saying like, no, you do not owe me anything. And then them proceeding then to have sex another time. Oh, when she went down on him, that was also a different perspective where when he said, oh shit, Feyre, that was hot.
He like grunted out and then was just like, oh shit, Feyre.
It's like, oh, that was a good one. That was good. Went all in, like I said. There was one more moment I wanted to bring up about the sex. I'm backtracking a little bit, so forgive me, but it was at the very beginning. We both laughed at it and I totally forgot about it till now when we were re-listening to it. And it was when she said, when he made the arrow down her stomach, and then Melody has like a very haughty laugh of like, like
yeah, she's like,
of like when he says, lest you think that where this is going, she's like she's just like, okay, yeah, okay. It was really, really good. I don't know how many takes that took her to do, or if she just like made that noise out of nowhere, but because sometimes with an actor, sometimes it's just like, okay, in the moment of the scene, that's what the noise is.
Right.
So that was chapter 55. And I think for 56, I mean, obviously the whole Cassian encounter is hilarious.
Honestly, the sound of them fighting in the mud and like grunting while they do it. And Reese's growl, that first initial one, was just like, growl.
Yeah, it was literally like a animal-like. Because we've heard him snarl before, but not like that. I think what was so funny about that, though, was John coming in. Because again, we haven't had like the other guys come in for a little while, at least 5 or so chapters. And so he's like, well, it's about time. Hearing John, I was like, oh, John. But I was like, oh, it's John. So it's like and then that's why you brought up about the hair, because you could hear him putting his hair up on the graphic. And then I could, if anything, it's almost like I could visualize him like rolling up his sleeves too and be like, mating bond, shaving a bit, Reese.
He's so getting prepped for this.
And so he just lunges and like Cassian, like John's laughter when they're fighting. And then of course,
and Reese just keeps snarling and growling while Cass is laughing,
thinking he's winning that fight at all. And of course, more letting her back in. But I mean, I think the end also was good in terms of hearing Amren's voice again. Yeah. But obviously there wasn't any like spectacular graphic audio moments there where it was just, I mean, it was just hearing them again and hearing their acting. But otherwise, I mean, is there anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think you covered it for all the graphic.
Yeah, it's and I'm not just saying that just because we talked and now they're like our friends now. And it's so weird to say. Yeah. But it's legit a good way of reading it that brought up so many different things, like for new readers, but also for old readers too. I don't think I would recommend listening to it on a first read though.
No, it definitely to like physically read it, or even like just the normal audiobook.
It would be on a reread that I would recommend. Again, you can do whatever the hell you want, but as somebody who's experienced in this, I feel like it hits more when you know everything first. Yeah. And then because a lot of those graphic audio moments, because they had all the books in hand before doing them, they knew where to put the foreshadowing.
And on top of that, graphic audio cuts out some of the actions as well. Like, in terms of, it doesn't say like he growled, it'll just be literally he growled. Yeah. So in that sense, you're missing a bit of text.
And sometimes they also like cut the dialogue in terms of they'll skip lines or they'll put lines together or something. I've noticed. If you want it in a real authentic way, you gotta read first.
Or at least the normal
audiobook. But some people honestly, my dad is listening to the audiobook for the first time, and I mean, this is probably the only way he would read it, by listening to it. But again, he's also having a good time listening to it on a first reread. But anyway, so actually next episode won't be a main episode. It'll be our last mini episode of the season. And it'll be with Melody Muse, Feyre Archeron herself. We're so excited. Well, for me to edit it, but I mean, for you to share it with you guys, because we got it done early. We're excited to share her with you because she's such an amazing person. Yeah. Just like, in terms of being plus size women ourselves and kind of finding a kindred spirit, not just only in the fact that she's a plus size woman, woman, but also just her attitude, her demeanor is badass and very inspiring.
Yeah, she's definitely an inspiration, a role model, and she's very sweet.
So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. So we'll see. Well, again, that will be, just to reiterate again, because we haven't had an interview for a little while. Mm-hmm. It'll be cut up into where it's like the main part where everybody can listen to it, and then we'll have the whole big spoiler warning in the middle of it, and for people who haven't read everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we only have 4 more episodes left after that.
Wow.
The 2 main ones, and then we're still doing our guys, and my dad's coming back for 2nd season, and our moms are coming back.
So we've got our 2 bonus episodes, just like 1st season.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be on Mother's Day weekend that we're recording.
Yeah.
That was like pure coincidence.
Yeah.
Wasn't even planned.
Oh, that's going to be a busy week.
I know. It's going to be her grad weekend too. So thank you guys so much for listening. Please, keep following our Instagram and Facebook, share it with your friends, all that. We thank so much. Oh my gosh, like so much support. We're getting so much more on TikTok, so much more on Facebook, Instagram. It's crazy. So, thank you so much. So many good things are to come, and thank you for supporting us. Mm-hmm. We really love you guys. So I hope we're building a good community so far. That's what we want.
It feels really surreal, but like I'm loving it.
We want to build a Twin Flames community. So if you have Twin Flames out there, you can feel like a home here too. So yeah, so we'll see you guys all in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.